Chapter 56:16. Lin Feng looked at Old Man Tianya coldly and said, I don't have time to chat with you. Let me ask you, why are you occupying the heavenly court? Do you want to become enemies with Sin Realm? Old Man Tianya was the representative of these people. He smiled and said, Leader Lin, you misunderstand. We don't want to become enemies with Sin Realm. However, the undying world doesn't have a ruler now. Naturally, whoever has the ability can occupy it. We're quite strong. Now that we've occupied the heavenly court, we want to rule the undying world. Even though Old Man Tianya said that he didn't want to become enemies with Sin Realm, how could they not become enemies with Sin Realm if they wanted to occupy the heavenly court? These people thought that they were very powerful, so naturally, they could do things their own way, and they didn't need to be afraid of so much. Even though they didn't directly shed all pretense of cordiality, it wasn't any different. After hearing Old Man Tianya's words, Lin Feng looked furious. These people were really infuriating. Lin Feng naturally didn't mind dealing with them. Even though Lin Feng had lost 2 top-notch cultivators, Lin Feng wasn't afraid of these people. He absolutely wouldn't give up the heavenly court. At that moment, a person flew over from the distance. After seeing that person, Lin Feng was astonished. It was the Red World Fairy. Lin Feng hadn't thought that the Red World Fairy would come over at this time. Before the war, Lin Feng had looked for the Red World Fairy. However, he hadn't been able to find her. Lin Feng guessed that at that time, the Red World Fairy was probably still in the time reversal world. The Red World Fairy also saw Lin Feng. She flew over to Lin Feng and said, I thought that it would take some time before the war with Heaven Palace. I didn't think that it would be brought forward. When I came out, the war was already over. It seems that the result wasn't bad. It seemed that the Red World Fairy also wanted to participate in the war. Lin Feng was happy because the Red World Fairy used to be an otherworldly fairy. Now, she was becoming more and more like a normal person. The Red World Fairy must have known that he would inevitably have a decisive battle with Tian Di, so she wanted to help him. This was a great sign that their relationship had improved. Although the Red World Fairy hadn't been able to participate in the war because she had come out late from the time reversal world, Lin Feng was very happy that the Red World Fairy had such thoughts. The Red World Fairy then looked at the 9 island masters, the 3 Yao gods, and the others and said, These people aren't your people. What are they doing here? Lin Feng sneered. A bunch of people who want to take advantage of the situation. Just how extraordinary was the Red World Fairy? After hearing Lin Feng's words, she knew what these people were trying to do. This kind of thing was very common in the world of cultivation. The world of cultivation had always been this cruel. If one had the strength, they could naturally do such things. Even if they would be cursed, so what? In the face of benefits, being cursed was nothing. Benefits were the most important thing. As long as there were benefits, nothing else mattered. Hong Chen Venerable understood this very well. Of course, the people in the overseas world also understood this very well. Therefore, the so-called infamy, loss of face, and other things didn't affect them much at all. They didn't care about it at all. At that moment, a somewhat trembling voice was heard. It's her. The person who said this was also one of the 9 island masters. He was the island master of Sacred Fire Island. His strength was very terrifying. Among the 9 island masters, he could at least be ranked in the top 3. This island master was very important among the 9 island masters. In addition to the island master of Sacred Fire Island, several other island masters recognized the Red World Fairy. They had all been cultivating in the time reversal world for a very long time. Now that they recognized the Red World Fairy, their expressions became extremely ugly. So it's you. The Red World Fairy also saw the island masters in the crowd. She immediately smiled coldly. Lin Feng was extremely surprised. The Red World Fairy and these island masters knew each other? Lin Feng hadn't thought of this before. Lin Feng asked, Do you know these people? Venerable Red Dust said, I've met them before in the time reversal world. Sacred Fire Island said, Today's matter was abrupt. We apologize to you. We will leave now. After hearing what the island master of Sacred Fire Island said, several other island masters who didn't know the Red World Fairy looked extremely surprised. The island master of Sacred Fire Island was an extremely hot-tempered person. He had always been very strong-willed, and he rarely submitted to anyone. However, after seeing the Red World Fairy, he was so frightened that he didn't even have any intention of attacking her. This made the other island masters feel that it was inconceivable. However, the island masters who had experienced what had happened before also looked like they wanted nothing more than to leave immediately. As for the three dire beast gods, they also had expressions of disbelief. They didn't know the Red World Fairy. They found it hard to understand why the island master of Sacred Fire Island would be so frightened. This human female cultivator didn't look very old. Was she so strong that the island master of Sacred Fire Island and the others were so afraid of her? The three dire beast gods were quite familiar with the island master of Sacred Fire Island. They naturally knew what kind of person he was and what kind of person he was. Since he was so afraid of this woman, it was enough to show how terrifying she was. Lin Feng sneered. You want to leave now? Weren't you all very awesome before? Why are you all acting like cowards now? Lin Feng's words were enough to infuriate them to death. The island masters and the three dire beast gods' expressions became extremely ugly. However, they didn't dare to refute Lin Feng because the Red World Fairy was here. Lin Feng said, Everyone, contribute an immortal scripture, and I'll let you leave. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the 9 island masters and the 3 dire beast gods' mouths twitched violently. Lin Feng's conditions were too harsh and too excessive. Right now, the 9 island masters and the 3 dire beast gods wanted nothing more than to slap Lin Feng to death. Chapter 56:17. Lin Feng's face suddenly revealed a devilish smile. He said, Don't you want to hand it over? If you don't hand it over, then we'll have no choice but to kill all of you. As the saying went, evil people needed to be dealt with by evil people. These people were unlucky to have met a devil like Lin Feng. After hearing Lin Feng's threat, their faces became extremely gloomy. Their fists were clenched together. It was too sullen. Experts like them had never been so sullen before. But now that they were bullied to this extent, they had no way to resist Lin Feng. Everyone was extremely depressed. But no matter how depressed they were, what could they do? They only had 2 choices now. One was to cooperate obediently, and hand over the immortal scriptures to Lin Feng. But if they really handed it over, their hearts would bleed. This was because the immortal scriptures were too precious. Moreover, these immortal scriptures couldn't be handed over casually. If they handed over the immortal scriptures, it wouldn't be as simple as handing over the immortal scriptures. In fact, it was equivalent to handing over a part of one's luck. This would have an extremely great impact on oneself. Therefore, all kinds of inheritances couldn't be casually passed to others. This was related to some things related to luck. Luck was extremely mysterious. It couldn't be seen or touched, but it really existed. Therefore, of course, these experts were extremely unwilling to hand over the immortal scriptures. But what could they do? Could it be that they chose not to hand it over? If they chose not to hand it over, when the time came to fight, they really had no chance of winning. The main reason was that the Red World Fairy was too terrifying. At that time, the Fire Saint Island Lord and the others had once competed with the Red World Fairy for a great opportunity in the world where time had reversed. Other than the 2 of them, there was another group of experts. However, that great opportunity was actually obtained by the Red World Fairy. One had to know that the Red World Fairy was only one person, and she was so young. Logically speaking, no matter who obtained this opportunity, it couldn't have been the Red World Fairy. However, the Red World Fairy had defeated all the heroes in the world. So many of them had joined forces, but they still weren't a match for the Red World Fairy. This made them feel incredulous. How could there be such a heaven-defying person in the world? And they had met such a heaven-defying person. Back then, the Red World Fairy had already been so terrifying before she had obtained that great opportunity. Now, the Red World Fairy had definitely improved by leaps and bounds. Therefore, if they really had to fight, they wouldn't dare to fight with the Red World's Fair, said the Lord of Fire Saint Island gloomily. Brat, you win! As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a jade tube and threw it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng caught the jade tube in his hand and used his divine telekinesis to sense it. The corners of his mouth immediately curled up into a smile. It was indeed a complete immortal sutra. When the rest of the people saw that the Fire Saint Island Lord had submitted, they had no choice but to submit. Then, they all took out a jade tube and handed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally had to be wary of these people. Therefore, he carefully checked every jade tube. When he found that there were no problems with the immortal sutras recorded in these jade tubes, he smiled. Lin Feng's face revealed a trace of a smile. He said, "Our cooperation this time was very pleasant. I hope that we'll have a chance to work together again next time." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the group of experts almost vomited blood. Was he still trying to extort them? Why didn't he just die? The group of people quickly led the cultivators under their command and left in a sorry state. Lin Feng made 3 copies of the Immortal Sutras. 1 copy was given to the Red World Fairy, 1 to the Great Pink King, and 1 to the Peacock King. Whether they cultivated or not was none of Lin Feng's business. In any case, Lin Feng had already given the Immortal Sutras to them. Lin Feng looked at the Red World Fairy and asked, "Did you come here to look for something?" The Red World Fairy nodded and said, "That's right. I need the Celestial Emperor's throne." "The Celestial Emperor's throne? What do you need it for?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask curiously. The Celestial Emperor's throne was equivalent to the Dragon Throne in the secular world. It could be considered a magic treasure, and a magic treasure at that. However, a magic treasure of that level shouldn't be that attractive to the Red World Fairy. The Red World Fairy said, "I need to use the Celestial Emperor's throne to exchange for something with someone." The Red World Fairy didn't say much else. The Red World Fairy didn't say who she was going to exchange with, or what she was going to exchange for. Since the Red World Fairy didn't say anything, she naturally had her reasons and thoughts. Lin Feng didn't ask, and the group flew towards the Heavenly Court. The Heavenly Court was huge, and it floated in the clouds. From afar, it was filled with jade palaces and immortal palaces. Immortal chi lingered in the air, and red-crowned cranes danced in the air. Originally, there were many fairies, immortal children, immortal slaves, celestial soldiers, celestial generals, and so on. Now, however, it was empty. After Lin Feng and the others had killed Tiandi the Celestial Emperor, the people there knew that the Celestial Court was done for. Therefore, they didn't dare stay in the Celestial Court. If they stayed in the Celestial Court, the other groups of influence would come and kill them. They weren't stupid, so they decided to run away. After Lin Feng and the others entered the Heavenly Court, they found that some of the more important places in the Heavenly Court were covered by powerful restrictions. Previously, the 9 island masters and the 3 demon gods were trying to break some of the restrictions. Some of the restrictions were broken, but most of them weren't. Lin Feng and the others arrived outside the Lingxiao Palace. The Lingxiao Palace was where the Celestial Emperor worked. Every once in a while, the celestial soldiers, celestial generals, and the important ministers of the Heavenly Court would come to the Lingxiao Palace to participate in the morning court. The morning court in the Lingxiao Palace wasn't much different from the morning court in the secular world. At this moment, the Lingxiao Palace was also enveloped by powerful restrictions. Previously, the 9 island masters and the 3 demon gods had tried to break the restrictions of the Lingxiao Palace. However, before they could break the restrictions of the Lingxiao Palace, Lin Feng and the others had already arrived. Therefore, they had no choice but to stop. After the group of people stopped, they went out to deal with Lin Feng and the others. However, the arrival of the Red World Fairy prevented the battle from erupting. Lin Feng said, "I'll bring everyone in." Although these restrictions were powerful, they were useless against Lin Feng. Lin Feng's stone scripture was unparalleled in the world. He could bring everyone freely through any restrictions. Lin Feng activated the stone scripture. The stone scripture emitted a powerful holy light that enveloped everyone. Then, Lin Feng led everyone through the restrictions and entered the Lingxiao Palace. Chapter 56:18. The interior of the Lingxiao Palace was resplendent and majestic. In the interior of the Lingxiao Palace, there were a total of 9 huge pillars. Each pillar had a golden dragon hovering above it. However, they were not real golden dragons. They were golden dragons forged from magic treasures. What was shocking was that these golden dragons had long since developed spirituality. They coiled around the pillars, constantly moving about, emitting a powerful draconic aura. Of course, this level of draconic aura was nothing to experts at Lin Feng's level. In the depths of the Lingxiao Palace, there was a desk. It was the desk where the Celestial Emperor usually worked. Behind the desk was the Celestial Emperor's throne. Honored Immortal Red Dust put away the Heavenly Emperor's throne. The Red World Fairy then walked outside. Lin Feng asked, "Where do you plan to go next?" The Red World Fairy replied, "There are many places that I want to visit. For example, the Celestial Realm, the chaotic Xianwang world, the Wasteland, and even the Other World. I want to see all of them." The Red World Fairy was a person with ambitions. Some of her thoughts were incomprehensible to ordinary people. Although she was a woman, she was more opinionated than men. Lin Feng knew that the Red World Fairy was also someone who could not stay idle. It was impossible for her to stay in one place for long. Lin Feng said, "I look forward to our next meeting." Honored Immortal Hongchen nodded his head and headed outside. After leaving the Lingxiao Palace, she flew into the distance. Lin Feng also walked out of the Lingxiao Palace. Long after the Red World Fairy had left, Lin Feng retracted his gaze and returned to the Lingxiao Palace. Duzu said, "Congratulations, young master. From now on, you will be the master of the undying world." The others also congratulated Lin Feng. "Congratulations, young master, on becoming the master of the undying world." Lin Feng smiled and said, "This time, I was able to defeat the Celestial Court's army and control the undead world. Thank you very much for your loyalty." "Don't worry, I won't mistreat you," said Lin Feng. "Many thanks, young master." The group of subordinates bowed to Lin Feng. Next, the Heavenly Court issued a decree. Lin Feng has become the new master of the Undying Realm. However, Lin Feng did not become the Celestial Emperor. Lin Feng did not like the title of Celestial Emperor. Furthermore, this was no longer the era of titled gods. Very quickly, the news of Lin Feng becoming the Undying World's Lord spread throughout the entire Undying World. Then, this news quickly spread to the outside world. At the same time, many forces in the Undying Realm were also encircling and annihilating the remnants of the Heavenly Emperor. For example, the Heavenly Emperor's younger brother, the Undying World's Realm Lord, and others. It was said that when the Undying World's World Overlord and the others were escaping to the Outer Realm, they were stopped by someone. The Undying World Overlord and the others were all killed. In addition, a few of the Heavenly Emperor's sons seemed to have been captured. Some of them were killed and some became captives. Lin Feng heard about this later, but he did not pay attention to this matter. In the following period of time, the Undying World seemed to be more turbulent. However, everything was still under Lin Feng's control. However, Lin Feng did not want to see the Undying World continue to be turbulent. Lin Feng hoped that all the influential groups would calm down. During this period of time, they had to become stronger as much as possible. They didn't want to fight against other people, because when the world-destroying war arrived, the undead world, the 3 highest worlds, and so on could all be destroyed. Surviving was the most important thing. As long as one could live, there would be no hope. If one died, there would be no hope. Therefore, the most important thing was to increase one's cultivation and not to fight for territory and satisfy one's desire for power. Lin Feng issued his first edict as the Lord of the Undying World. Lin Feng strictly ordered the various forces to prohibit private fights. If any force dared to engage in large-scale private fights with other forces, they would be severely punished. Now that Lin Feng was in power, the prestige of the Lord of the Undying World shook the Undying World. Naturally, the various forces did not dare to go against Lin Feng. After Lin Feng's order was issued, the Undying World quickly entered a period of peace. Even the 9 island masters and the 3 great demon gods knew that Lin Feng had become the Lord of the Undying World. They had lost their momentum, and no longer had the intention to fight with Lin Feng. Lin Feng sent Du Zhu and the others to the 9 continents world to pick up Shangguan Yudi and the others. Because the journey was long, Lin Feng sent many experts to follow Du Zhu and the others. Lin Feng was also worried that his women would encounter danger on the way. It had been 100 years since they left the 9 continents world. In fact, Lin Feng also missed Shangguan Yudi and the others very much. He wondered how they were doing in the 9 continents world now. Lin Feng's women were all outstanding beauties. They were so beautiful that when they came over, he could sleep with them. Just thinking about it made him excited. Time passed very quickly. Lin Feng had been in seclusion all this time. He was comprehending the world source of the Undying World. Lin Feng was now the new lord of the Undying World, so in theory, Lin Feng could sense the world source of the Undying World. He could even merge with the Undying World, but this was a relatively difficult thing. Because even Tiandi the Celestial Emperor had spent many years to fuse with the Immortal World. If Lin Feng wanted to fuse with the Immortal World, it would be extremely difficult. Besides, after what had happened to Tiandi the Celestial Emperor, the Immortal World was even more resistant to fusing with other people. After all, Tiandi the Celestial Emperor had almost destroyed the Immortal World. There was a saying that once bitten by a snake twice shy. This saying was very reasonable. Lin Feng spent about 3 years to successfully communicate with the world source of the Undying World. Lin Feng came to a mysterious space. In this space, Lin Feng saw the world source of the Undying World. Originally, the world source of the Undying World was in the depths of the Earth's core. Back then, the Sky Emperor and the others had devoured the world source of the Undying World. Fortunately, someone intervened and prevented the Sky Emperor and the others from completely devouring the world source of the Undying World. Moreover, the various parties had no choice but to compromise and stop devouring the world source of the Undying World. Moreover, they joined forces to seal the world source of the Undying World in this mysterious space. This was to prevent others from devouring the world source of the Undying World. However, these seals were basically useless to Lin Feng. This was because Lin Feng had the stone scripture. He could easily break the seals. I knew that you would eventually find this place one day. Will you devour me like the Sky Emperor? A voice came from the world source of the Undying World. Lin Feng guessed that this voice should be the voice of the Undying World Spirit. Chapter 56:19. Lin Feng said, "You don't have to worry about this, I won't devour you. Is what you said true? But how can I believe you? Back then, the Heavenly Emperor also said that he wouldn't devour me, which was why I fused with the Heavenly Emperor. But later on, in order to increase his cultivation, the Heavenly Emperor destroyed my foundation and then devoured most of my origin. At that time, I almost died at the hands of the Heavenly Emperor." When the spirit said these words, it was clearly very wary of Lin Feng, because it had already been deceived by the Heavenly Emperor. Moreover, being deceived this time was too harmful to the spirit, so it was very difficult for the spirit of the Undying Realm to trust others. Lin Feng could understand this point, and Lin Feng would not blame the spirit for not being able to trust others. No matter who it was, it would be very difficult for them to trust others. Lin Feng said, "We will slowly get along, and you will know that I am completely different from the Heavenly Emperor." "I hope so," the spirit said. Lin Feng then left this space. In the following years, Lin Feng had been trying to communicate with the spirit. Perhaps the spirit of the Undying Realm also felt Lin Feng's sincerity, so the spirit's resistance towards Lin Feng became smaller and smaller. In these years, Lin Feng's cultivation had not increased slowly, but it was not too fast either. Lin Feng's cultivation had risen to the peak of the Tao Immortal Realm, and now he was about to break through to the gold immortal realm. However, breaking through to the gold immortal realm was an extremely difficult matter, because transforming from the Tao immortal realm to the gold immortal realm was equivalent to transforming into an immortal realm. This was a huge threshold that cultivators faced. Once they broke through, it would be a huge improvement for them. However, more than 95% of the cultivators who broke through to the gold immortal realm failed in the end. This showed how difficult it was to break through to the gold immortal realm. Lin Feng's accumulation was so powerful, it was even more difficult for him to break through. However, Lin Feng had already thought of a way, and that was if he could fuse with the undying realm. Breaking through to the gold immortal realm would not be a problem at all. The key was that it was very difficult for Lin Feng to fuse with the undying realm right now, because the spirit was still very resistant to this matter. Even though it had become extremely familiar with Lin Feng over the years, it was still resistant to this matter. The spirit probably also knew that Lin Feng had reached a more critical period, so during this period of time, it had not communicated with Lin Feng. Lin Feng guessed that the spirit might be thinking about whether to fuse with him. Lin Feng received a piece of news that made him extremely happy. Du Zhu and the others had returned. Lin Feng quickly went outside and saw ancient ships flying from afar. Those ancient ships stopped on the square outside the Lin Xiao Palace. Many familiar faces came into Lin Feng's sight, such as Shangguan Yudi, Wan Wan, Murong Shui, Xiao Yafei, and so on. All of Lin Feng's confidants in the 9 continents had appeared. Lin Feng was a relatively romantic person, so these confidants added up to dozens of people. After seeing Lin Feng, they all showed an extremely excited expression. After being separated for so many years, everyone missed Lin Feng very much. And Lin Feng also did a very absurd thing, and that was, he really slept with these confidants. What was the meaning of only envy the monarch for not having morning court? Heroes find it hard to resist the charms of beauties. Lin Feng really had a deep understanding of this. Perhaps every man had a harem dream. Even heroes would fall into the infinite tenderness of beauties, and Lin Feng was no exception. During these years, Lin Feng had people inquire about the buried god Starfield. The main reason was that Lin Feng wanted to go to the buried god Starfield to rescue his mother. However, Lin Feng still couldn't find a specific starry sky map. Without a map, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to reach that place. Regarding this matter, Lin Feng was quite anxious. Lin Feng couldn't wait to rescue his mother. Lin Feng really didn't want to see his mother suffer in that place. On this day, Ling took the initiative to communicate with Lin Feng. Lin Feng once again came to that space. After seeing Ling, Lin Feng was very happy. He felt that perhaps Ling had already made her choice. Ling said, "This year should be the 20th year since you became the Lord of the Undead Realm." Lin Feng nodded and said, "Yes, this year is the 20th year since I became the Lord of the Undead Realm. 20 years have passed in the blink of an eye." Ling said, "It has indeed passed very quickly. During these 20 years I discovered that the Undead Realm has become prosperous. Back then, before the Undead Realm was almost destroyed, although there weren't any large-scale battles, all kinds of conflicts, and killings were incessant. Whether it was the inland world or the outer world, these kinds of battles never stopped. However, after you took over the Undead Realm has become a different scene. It has truly become a golden age for cultivation. Just as you hoped, everyone is a dragon." Lin Feng sighed. "It's so difficult to make everybody become a dragon," said Lin Feng, sighing. Ling said, "You don't have to belittle yourself. In fact, you have already done very well. The Heavenly Emperor has been in charge of the Undead Realm for so many years, but he hasn't done as well as you have in the past 20 years. I feel that you are someone worthy of my trust." Hearing Ling's words, Lin Feng's face immediately revealed an extremely happy expression. Lin Feng said, "Are you planning to let the Undead Realm fuse with me?" Lin Feng had been waiting for this day. This was the key to him breaking through to the Golden Immortal Realm. Ling said, "Yes, I have indeed planned to do so. I hope that my choice is correct." When she said this, Ling's expression was very complicated. Back then, she had said the same thing to the Heavenly Emperor, but at that time, she had made the wrong choice. At that time, the undead realm source was still very strong. The stronger the world source was, the stronger Ling was. Therefore, the undead realm's Ling was very powerful at that time. Of course, to be honest, that was not the peak of Ling's power. However, it was still considered to be at a very high level. But now, it was different. Now, it didn't even have 1/10 of the world's origin. The power of spirit was also extremely weak. Its power could only support the undying world from collapsing. If Lin Feng also devoured the undead realm source like the Heavenly Emperor, then the undead realm would be completely destroyed, and countless living beings would die tragically. Therefore, Ling was also gambling. She hoped that she had made the right choice this time. Chapter 56:20. Lin Feng began to fuse with the undying world because Lin Feng had obtained the recognition of the spirit. Therefore, as long as he had the help of the spirit, fusing with the undying world shouldn't be a particularly difficult thing. Back then, the Sky Emperor was also able to fuse with the undying world because he had obtained the recognition of the spirit. Without the recognition of the spirit, no matter how powerful one was, there was no way to fuse with the undying world. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that fusing with the undying world wasn't something that could be done overnight. After all, the undying world was a half-higher plane world. It would naturally take some time to fuse with such a huge world. However, once fused, the benefits would be huge. Back then, the Sky Emperor had used the opportunity of fusing with the undying world to break through to the Sage Realm. However, at that time, the undying world was still relatively powerful, and the world's origin was also very powerful, belonging to the peak state. But now, the undying world was too damaged, and the world's origin was particularly damaged. Therefore, the current undying world couldn't be compared to back then. However, even if it couldn't be compared to back then, there was no problem in fusing with the undying world to break through to the golden immortal realm. In the next 3 years, Lin Feng had been trying to fuse with the undying world. During the process, Lin Feng encountered a lot of difficulties, but these difficulties were successfully resolved by Lin Feng in the end. Although 3 years wasn't particularly long, these 3 years were extremely important for Lin Feng. Fusing with the undying world to break through to the golden immortal realm would allow Lin Feng to complete a major transformation. He would become an immortal existence in the golden immortal realm. This was the beginning of the path to immortality. And what was the peak of the path to immortality? The peak of the path to immortality was immortality. In other words, Lin Feng now had the qualifications to pursue the ability of immortality. Before this, he didn't even have this qualification. After having this qualification, Lin Feng might really have the ability of immortality one day in the future. The world of cultivators was like this. Everything was possible. After fusing with the undying world, the tribulation light flickered between Lin Feng's eyebrows. Lin Feng knew that he was about to undergo the gilded immortal tribulation. Lin Feng was naturally full of confidence in this tribulation. If he still couldn't pass the tribulation after fusing with the undying world, then wouldn't he be too trashy? In the next few months, Lin Feng began to transcend the tribulation. His tribulation was extremely terrifying, much more terrifying than the tribulation when he broke through to the Tao immortal realm. However, such a terrifying lightning tribulation was successfully resolved by Lin Feng. In the end, Lin Feng broke through to the gold immortal stage. His realm had stopped at the first level of the golden immortal realm. In addition to the breakthrough in his cultivation, Lin Feng's physical body had also reached the peak of the fourth stage of the Sage realm. His soul had also reached the peak of the fourth stage of the Sage realm. That was the pinnacle of the Saint King realm. After this breakthrough, Lin Feng immediately felt that his life aura seemed to have completed a transformation. Among his life aura, there was an additional special aura. This aura seemed to be the aura of immortality. After feeling this aura, Lin Feng's face revealed a smile. The path of immortality was finally about to begin. After Lin Feng broke through, he returned to the heavenly court. As Lin Feng had been in seclusion all these years, no one had seen Lin Feng. After seeing Lin Feng return, everyone was naturally very happy. Especially Lin Feng's women, they were even happier. Lin Feng and this group of peerless beauties were carrying out a great activity of making babies. This was related to the inheritance of the race. Of course, they couldn't be careless. If it wasn't for the fact that there were too many things to do and too many responsibilities on his shoulders, Lin Feng really wanted to be unbridled and be a romantic and happy person. How comfortable would that be? This was the life that Lin Feng wanted. However, at this stage, Lin Feng knew that he couldn't live such a life. Because Lin Feng had too many things to deal with. In the next few years, Lin Feng kept asking people to find out the route to the buried god's star field. However, there was no news. Most of the time, Lin Feng was in seclusion. He continued to study his Tao, various powerful sacred arts, immortal scriptures, and the 3,000 great Taos. Lin Feng hoped to improve further. If he could cultivate his Tao, sacred arts, immortal scriptures, and 3,000 great Taos to the Great Circle realm, it would be a major transformation. However, Lin Feng also knew that this wasn't easy. 5 years later, Lin Feng finally obtained some information about the route to the buried god's star field. It was said that a cultivator's ancestor had passed down many starry sky route maps. That cultivator found a scroll of a starry sky route map that led to the buried god's star field. That cultivator knew that the undying world lord was looking for the route map to the buried god's star field. Therefore, he came to the heavenly court and wanted to offer the map to Lin Feng. Lin Feng asked someone to bring that cultivator to the living room. When he saw Lin Feng, that cultivator hurriedly knelt on the ground and saluted Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "Quickly get up and talk." Only then did that cultivator get up. Lin Feng asked, "Are you the one who said that a starry sky route map passed down by your ancestor is the one I'm looking for?" The cultivator hurriedly nodded and took out a jade tube. He said, "Your Excellency, this is the starry sky route map." Lin Feng took the jade tube and sensed it. A smile appeared on his face. Unexpectedly, there really was a route map to the buried god's star field. This made Lin Feng extremely happy. He had finally found the route to the buried god's star field. However, when Lin Feng looked through the entire route map, Lin Feng immediately frowned. This was because the route map wasn't complete. Perhaps it was because it was too old. A portion of the route had been damaged. That was to say, although this route map was the correct route map, because a portion of it was damaged, it could no longer form a complete route map. Such a missing route map could easily cause people to lose their way. "This is a starry sky route map that is severely damaged." Lin Feng looked at the cultivator and said. The cultivator nodded and said with a bitter smile, "Your Excellency, it's because too much time has passed that this starry sky route map is incomplete. However, after careful observation, I can see that there are many planets with life in the intact route map. There should be some powerful forces on those planets. Since this route map is indeed the route to the buried god's star field, we might be able to find the complete starry sky route map on some of the planets marked on this route map." Chapter 56:21. This cultivator's words were very reasonable. It was indeed possible to find the complete starry sky route to the buried god's star field from these life planets, and the probability of finding the route was also very high. After thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal a smile on his face. If he could find the starry sky route, at that time, he would be able to find the buried god's star field. However, Lin Feng didn't plan to bring too many people to the buried god's star field this time. If he brought too many people, it would be easy to alert the enemy. Once discovered, it would be an extremely troublesome matter, and it would be even more dangerous. Lin Feng wanted to bring a few people and wait until he reached the buried god's star field. After finding the 9 heavens god burying coffin, he would then think of a way to sneak in to save his mother. Lin Feng let Du Zhu take this cultivator away. Naturally, there would be a great reward. Lin Feng began to prepare for the trip to the buried god's star field. In fact, Lin Feng still had many things to do, such as returning to the Nine Continents world to collect the ancient weapon, the Demon Blood Saber. However, the Nine Continents were too far away, so Lin Feng didn't plan to go there yet. Another thing was to go to the Dragon World and the Devil World. However, compared to the trip to the buried God Star Field, these things weren't important. What Lin Feng wanted to do the most now was to rescue his mother. The Undying World was developing very well. In addition, he had obtained countless treasures, cultivation resources, and other things from the Heavenly Court's treasury. These things were enough to support the Heavenly Court's operation for a very long time. In addition, Lin Feng's Grand Master Wang Mingchuan wouldn't leave the Heavenly Court. He planned to continue to stay in the Heavenly Court. With Wang Mingchuan here, Lin Feng didn't have to worry about the Heavenly Court's safety. After all, Wang Mingchuan was so powerful that there weren't many experts who could threaten him. In addition, the Heavenly Court's army rapidly expanded, adding up to about 1 billion cultivators. This 1 billion cultivator army, part of it was the original cultivator army, and part of it was the cultivator army that came from the Undying World. In addition, many cultivators outside the domain came to the Undying World after hearing that Lin Feng had killed the Heavenly Emperor, and then joined the Heavenly Court. Because the Heavenly Emperor was a person with heaven-defying opportunities, it was basically impossible for such a person to die. However, the Heavenly Emperor actually died. What did this mean? This meant that the people who killed the Celestial Emperor had more destiny than the Celestial Emperor. Such people were even more heaven-defying than the Celestial Emperor. Such a person had heaven-defying luck. If he could obtain the protection of such a person, perhaps when the epoch was destroyed, everyone would be able to escape successfully and live until the next epoch. Therefore, the Heavenly Court's influence had expanded tremendously in recent years. Moreover, there were many top experts among the cultivators who joined Lin Feng. There were over 200 true immortal cultivators and 13 saints. Therefore, even if Lin Feng left, Wang Mingchuan still had so many saints, true immortal cultivators, and billions of cultivators. Even if the leader of the Tian clan came, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Even if the Heavenly Emperor came, the combined attack of these people might be able to kill the Heavenly Emperor. After all, no matter how strong a person was, it was impossible for him to fight against so many people. Lin Feng told his women about his intention to leave, and they could understand Lin Feng's decision. This short separation was also for the sake of living happily together in the future. Moreover, they lived with Lin Feng in the Undying World for many years, and it was very happy and blissful. The only thing that made Lin Feng's women regretful was that none of them could get pregnant. If they could get pregnant with Lin Feng's child, that would be even better. This way, they would be able to give birth to Lin Feng's children. Moreover, the inheritance of the children was very important. The main reason why so many women couldn't get pregnant was because Lin Feng's bloodline was too powerful. Generally speaking, the more powerful the bloodline, the harder it was to give birth to children. Therefore, the number of people from those heaven-defying races was relatively small. The strength of Lin Feng's bloodline was definitely unique in this epoch. Of course, it didn't mean that it was completely impossible to give birth to children. If one was lucky, after having sex with some women with relatively ordinary bloodlines, there was also a probability of giving birth to children. However, this probability was relatively small. If Lin Feng had sex with those female cultivators with very powerful bloodlines, the probability of giving birth to children would be higher. For example, if Lin Feng had sex with the Red World Fairy, because the Red World Fairy was very powerful, even more powerful than Lin Feng, the Red World Fairy's bloodline was also very powerful. The two of them could give birth to children, but Lin Feng and the Red World Fairy hadn't reached this step yet. In the following period of time, Lin Feng had been preparing to leave the Undying Realm. Sometimes, Lin Feng would think of the Empress. Over the years, Lin Feng had been sending people to inquire about the Empress, but Lin Feng hadn't been able to find any information about her, which made Lin Feng very depressed. The Empress should have come to the Undying Realm. Because there was no news about her, Lin Feng guessed that she might have left before he came to the Undying Realm, but Lin Feng didn't know where she went. Before leaving the Undying Realm, Lin Feng went to the desolate Heaven Ridge. Lin Feng planned to send some people into the time reversal world. Now that the battle of extinction was not far away, Lin Feng wanted to seize this opportunity to improve their cultivation, and entering the time reversal world was obviously the best way to improve their cultivation. However, Lin Feng knew that Heaven Emperor Huang wasn't easy to talk to, but today was different. Heaven Emperor Huang should know what to do. After seeing Lin Feng arrive, Heaven Emperor Huang's expression was quite ugly, just as Lin Feng had guessed. Heaven Emperor Huang didn't like Lin Feng very much. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Why do you have such an expression when old friends meet? Don't you welcome me?" Heaven Emperor Huang sneered and said, "Don't you know whether I welcome you or not? Why are you still asking me?" Lin Feng said, "Don't say that. We're old friends. When old friends meet old friends, they should be teary-eyed." Heaven Emperor Huang was speechless, and he was also very vigilant. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Clearly, Lin Feng had come to find him because he had something to ask of him. Chapter 56-22. Lin Feng didn't have the time to waste with Huang Tiandi. Lin Feng went straight to the point. "I'm here because I hope you can reopen the passage to the world of time reversal. I want to send a group of people there. That shouldn't be a problem, right?" The corner of Huang Tiandi's mouth twitched after hearing Lin Feng's words. "Do you know how much energy it takes to open the passage to the world of time reversal? I was already giving your father face by sending you there last time." "Don't go too far," said Lin Feng. "I'm giving you face because we're friends. If you don't agree, don't blame me for being impolite to you," said Lin Feng. Huang Tiandi was furious after hearing Lin Feng's words. Now Lin Feng dared act arrogantly in front of him. He was furious. "You think that because you joined hands to kill Tian Di, you can act arrogantly in front of me?" said Tian Di Huang icily. "You think that because you joined hands to kill Tian Di, you can act arrogantly in front of me?" Lin Feng smiled. "I was just about to see what you're capable of." Lin Feng threw a punch at Huang Tiandi. 6 paths of reincarnation were formed, and the power of 6 paths of reincarnation supported Lin Feng's punch. The power of this punch was hair-raising. Huang Tiandi's expression changed slightly. Lin Feng's punch didn't just contain the power of 6 paths of reincarnation, it also contained the power of the undying world. This was because Lin Feng wanted to intimidate Huang Tiandi. Huang Tiandi was indeed terrifying. It would be extremely troublesome if he failed to intimidate Heavenly Emperor Huang. However, if he could intimidate Heavenly Emperor Huang would probably agree to his conditions after weighing the pros and cons. Huang Tiandi was shocked by Lin Feng's attack, but he wasn't afraid. He threw a punch at Lin Feng. Their attacks collided, but no one could do anything to the other. The two of them were evenly matched. Huang Tiandi said, "You actually fused with the power of the undying world." Huang Tiandi was once the 7th Heavenly Emperor, so he was very familiar with the power of the undying world. He didn't manage to fuse with the undying world back then. However, he could still tell that Lin Feng's attack had fused with the power of the undying world. Lin Feng said, "Huang Tiandi, I'm not afraid of you right now. You should know that our heavenly court has more than 1 billion cultivators. With a wave of my hand, 100 of you will be annihilated. That's why I hope that you can cooperate with me." "Well, I don't want to have a falling out." Huang Tiandi had a dark expression. In the end, he said coldly, "Since you've become the lord of the undying world, I can give you some face, but I can't let you send a large number of cultivators in," Lin Feng said. Huang Tiandi sneered. "You're asking for too much. 80 at most." They haggled for a while. Finally, the number was set at 200. Lin Feng was quite satisfied with this number. Lin Feng returned to the heavenly court after leaving Huang Tiandi's place. Lin Feng planned to send some people into the time-reversed world. For example, Lin Feng's women, Lin Feng's friends, the Little Rock King, the Fire Qilin, and the others. Lin Feng also wanted to send Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign saint, and the others into the time-reversed world. However, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint didn't agree when they heard that Lin Feng wanted to send them into the time-reversed world. They wanted to stay by Lin Feng's side and not enter the time-reversed world. Once they entered the time-reversed world, they wouldn't be able to follow Lin Feng to the buried god's starfield. Compared to entering the time-reversal world, they preferred to follow Lin Feng all the way. Lin Feng said, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you miss it, you might not be able to enter the time-reversed world again. I hope you can consider this carefully." Poison Ancestor and Evil Dominator Saint's attitudes were very firm. They said in unison, "We've already thought about it. We don't plan to enter the time-reversed world. We plan to follow you to the buried god's starfield." Lin Feng was actually very touched. After all, entering the time-reversed world was equivalent to an extremely heaven-defying opportunity. However, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint gave up on this opportunity, and chose to follow him to the buried god's starfield. This trip to the buried god's starfield was obviously very dangerous, but even if they knew this, they still didn't hesitate. They hadn't hesitated at all, which meant they were loyal and devoted to him. Lin Feng tapped Ancestor Du and Saint Xie Zun's shoulders and said, "All right, since you've made your choice, you can come with me to the god's grave star region," said Lin Feng, patting Ancestor Du and Saint Xie Zun's shoulders. Lin Feng spent a few days picking out 200 people. After that, Lin Feng brought them to the desolate Heaven Ridge. These people were basically coming to the desolate Heaven Ridge for the first time. In their opinion, this place was extremely dangerous. There was only a slim chance of survival if they stepped into it. They never thought that they would come to the desolate Heaven Ridge one day. Now that they had followed Lin Feng to the desolate Heaven Ridge, they felt that it was inconceivable. When they saw the desolate Heaven Emperor, they were even more shocked. They actually saw the ruler of the land of death. It was really inconceivable. However, no matter how they looked at it, the desolate Heaven Emperor seemed to be on equal footing with the Realm Master. Had the Realm Master become so powerful? Lin Feng's subordinates were all extremely shocked. Lin Feng's friends and women were all happy for Lin Feng. Perhaps, Lin Feng's current cultivation was much more terrifying than they had imagined. "Desolate Heaven Emperor, I've brought the people. Now open the passage to the time-reversal world and send them in," Lin Feng said. "All right, you'll need to wait a few days. I'll try to open the passage to the time-reversal world now." After saying that, the desolate Heaven Emperor began to try to open the passage to the time-reversal world. 3 days later, the passage to the time-reversal world was opened by the desolate Heaven Emperor. Heaven Emperor Huang said in a deep voice, "With so many people entering the time-reversal world, it's too taxing on me. I can't hold on for much longer. Don't waste time, hurry up and enter the passage." Chapter 56-23. "Everyone, let's enter the passage," Lin Feng said. Then, the group of people flew into the passage one after another. Lin Feng's women looked at Lin Feng affectionately. They were obviously reluctant to part with him, but this kind of parting was inevitable. They also knew that they had to seize this opportunity to raise their cultivation as much as possible. Only by becoming stronger would they be less of a burden to Lin Feng in the future. This was the consensus they had reached in private. Therefore, they were cultivating very hard. Being able to enter the world of time reversal was indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Before this, they didn't even have the extravagant hope that they would be able to enter the world of time reversal. To many people, the world of time reversal was just a fleeting legend. Now that they had the chance to enter the world of time reversal, they would naturally cherish this opportunity. After everyone entered the passage, Emperor Huang stopped. He looked at Lin Feng and said, "I've sent your people into the world of time reversal. You can leave now." Lin Feng said, "Is this how you treat your friends? How can you chase your friends away?" Emperor Huang said speechlessly, "Who's your friend? Don't randomly make friends." After a pause, he continued, "I realize that your skin is really thick. One thing I'm sure of is that your skin is much thicker than your father's. Thanks for the compliment. Lin Feng grinned. This was because Lin Feng's skin was already very thick. The cultivators of the world of cultivators were each thicker than the last. To put it bluntly, they were each more shameless than the last. A proper gentleman wouldn't be able to survive in the world of cultivators. Lin Feng didn't continue to stay here. After returning to the heavenly court, Lin Feng started preparing to head to the buried god Starfield. In fact, Lin Feng still had some unresolved matters. For example, Lin Feng originally wanted to eradicate the Assassin dynasty. Moreover, he had planted spies in the Assassin dynasty. However, ever since he ruled the Undying Realm, the entire Assassin dynasty disappeared without a trace. The spies he planted in the Assassin dynasty also disappeared. They should have been taken away. As for where the Assassin dynasty went, Lin Feng didn't know. Of course, Lin Feng still issued an order before leaving the Undying Realm. If they could find clues about the Assassin dynasty, then they would eliminate the Assassin dynasty. Then, Lin Feng took Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign holy sage aboard the ancient starship Xianyuan, and quickly left the Undying Realm. They entered the Starry Sky world and flew towards the depths of the Starry Sky map. Lin Feng took out the heart plate. Lin Feng summoned the sacred Martin Great Immortal. In the Starry Sky world, it was difficult to use an ordinary compass to locate a location. However, using the heart plate to locate a location was much easier. Lin Feng asked the sacred Martin Great Immortal for help. Lin Feng asked for a lot of good things, and Lin Feng also satisfied all of his requests. After killing the Heavenly Emperor, Lin Feng obtained a lot of good things from the Heavenly Emperor. In addition, he also obtained a lot of good things from the Heavenly Court's treasury. He also had a lot of good things. Lin Feng had a lot of treasures on him. However, Lin Feng couldn't use many of them. If the people around him could use them, Lin Feng wouldn't mind giving them to them. The sacred Martin Great Immortal was still useful to Lin Feng. The only pity was that although the heart plate could locate some places, however, it couldn't locate the buried god Starfield. This was because the buried god Starfield was related to the epic remnant race and the mastermind. This place had been concealed by them using powerful laws. It was very difficult to locate this place. Moreover, if they forcefully located it, they might be discovered by the top experts. If they discovered it, this matter would become extremely bad. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't let the sacred Martin Great Immortal locate the buried god Starfield. It was safer to search for the Starfield map. He would arrive at the buried god Starfield silently. Then, he would be able to rescue the people when they least expected it. Brother Xianyuan's ancient starship flew rapidly in the Starry Sky world. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. Lin Feng had been cultivating in seclusion. His Tao, Immortal Sutra, Divine Ability, and the 3,000 great Taos had all reached the peak of the grand completion stage. However, he was still some distance away from breaking through to the grand completion stage. Breaking through to the grand completion stage required a deeper understanding of the Tao, Immortal Sutra, Divine Ability, and the 3,000 great Taos. This was often the most difficult thing. However, Lin Feng was very confident in himself. Lin Feng believed that a breakthrough was only a matter of time. On this day, Lin Feng and the others saw a huge life planet from afar. Lin Feng and the others had been sailing in the Starry Sky world for several years. Therefore, they also wanted to land on the life planet and rest for a while. At the same time, they also wanted to inquire about the route to the buried god Starfield. It would be even better if they could inquire about the route. The ancient starship Xianyuan quickly flew towards the life planet. When it got close to the life planet, Lin Feng saw many cultivators flying over from all directions. Moreover, many ancient starships also flew over from all directions towards the life planet. The life planet should be a relatively powerful life planet in this starfield. Therefore, it attracted so many cultivators. The ancient starship Xianyuan landed on the life planet. There were many ancient cities on this life planet. Lin Feng and the others landed in an ancient city called the Heavenly Demon City. The city lord of this heavenly demon city was an extremely powerful heavenly demon. It was said that he had existed in this world since ancient times. Lin Feng knew that there were indeed many powerful heavenly demons in the starry sky world outside the starry sky world. However, Lin Feng didn't have a good impression of heavenly demons. This was because heavenly demons had invaded the 9 continents' great world in the past, and caused great damage to it. Of course, the heavenly demons that invaded the 9 continents' great world might not have anything to do with the heavenly demons in other places. However, in general, no matter where the heavenly demons came from, they were basically very evil. Although there might be some good heavenly demons. However, there weren't many good heavenly demons. At the very least, Lin Feng hadn't encountered any. After arriving at the heavenly demon city, Lin Feng and the others first found an inn and rented a separate courtyard in the inn. Then, they washed up and had a good rest. After eating a big meal, they went to inquire about information. There was a heavenly demon pavilion in the heavenly demon city. This place not only sold all kinds of things, but also sold all kinds of information. As long as one had the money, they could buy anything they wanted here. Chapter 56-24. Lin Feng and the others met an elder of the Heavenly Devil Pavilion. He looked to be in his 30s. Of course, he only looked young, but he had actually cultivated for more than 1,000,000 years. The elder smiled and asked, "May I know what you want to buy, young master?" Lin Feng said, "Do you have a star map that leads to the buried god's starfield?" "Young master, you want to go to the buried god's starfield?" The elder was very surprised. Lin Feng nodded and said, "Is there a problem?" The elder said, "Of course, there's no problem. However, that place is very special. If you want to go there, you have to pass through a magnetic field. Young master, you should know that the magnetic field is very strange. Once you enter it, it's very easy to get lost. That's why even our Heavenly Devil Pavilion can't find a specific star map. Moreover, the most frightening thing is that the route to the buried god's star field is covered by several magnetic fields. If there was only one magnetic field, it would be easier, but with so many magnetic fields, it would increase the difficulty of drawing a starry sky map. In the past, our Heavenly Devil Pavilion also tried to draw a starry sky map like this, but after trying many times, we still didn't succeed. Moreover, the losses were extremely great. Later, the higher-ups gave up on the idea of drawing a starry sky map themselves. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown when he heard that. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to obtain any information here. Lin Feng was about to leave. Said the elder, "Even though the Celestial Devil Pavilion doesn't have a starry sky route map, I know someone who might have a complete starry sky route map." "Oh? Who has a star map?" asked Lin Feng in surprise. The elder said, "In the easternmost part of our planet, near the sea, there's a place called the White Immortal Valley. It's surrounded by restrictive spells and is very dangerous. It's a place that can't be entered. If anyone dares to enter that place, only death awaits them. Rumor has it that the master of the White Immortal Valley has a star map. Of course, that's just a rumor. Whether it's true or not, I can't be sure. However, in the past, our city lord went there in search of a complete star map, but in the end, he returned in failure. I think that since our city lord went there, that person might really have a star map. If young master wants to find a complete star map, you can go there and try your luck. However, whether or not you can obtain a star map will depend on your own ability." After hearing that, Lin Feng was very happy. At the very least, he had some clues. Lin Feng gave the elder a large number of immortal stones. Naturally, the elder was overjoyed. He personally sent Lin Feng and the others out of the Heavenly Devil Pavilion. When Lin Feng returned to his residence, he frowned slightly. Du Zhu saw Lin Feng's frown and couldn't help but ask, "Young master, why are you frowning?" Lin Feng said, "I feel that someone is secretly watching us. However, I don't know who it is. When I tried to sense them, I couldn't find them." After hearing Lin Feng's words, Du Zhu and the heretical diviner saint's expressions changed slightly. Lin Feng was so strong now, but he couldn't find the other party. This meant that the other party's strength was too terrifying. Just what kind of cultivator was able to hide from everyone? We'll deal with whatever comes our way, Lin Feng said. After that, he didn't care about this matter anymore. After all, Lin Feng was very bold now. If the other party dared to come, he could guarantee that they wouldn't be able to return alive. After returning to their residence, Lin Feng and the others had a good night's rest. Lin Feng originally planned to stay here for a while, but since he had some information about the star map, Lin Feng didn't plan to stay in Heavenly Devil City any longer. The next day, Lin Feng and the others set off for White Immortal Valley. A month later, Lin Feng and the others arrived outside White Immortal Valley. White Immortal Valley was shrouded in a mountain range. There were continuous mountains and green trees. This mountain range was adjacent to the sea, and many people came to see White Immortal Valley every day. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. The restrictions in this place were indeed very terrifying and strange. He didn't know who had set them up. Lin Feng used the power of the stone scripture and tried to use it to break the restrictions here. However, something unexpected happened. When Lin Feng activated the power of the stone scripture, Lin Feng found that the stone scripture couldn't break the restrictions here. This was something that Lin Feng couldn't understand. In theory, the stone scripture could break all restrictions. In the past, no matter what kind of restriction it would be able to break it. Even if it was a powerful restriction like the Lingxiao Palace, the stone scripture could easily break it. However, the restrictions in White Immortal Valley couldn't be broken. Lin Feng decided to go to White Immortal City, which was more than 50 kilometers away from White Immortal Valley, to inquire about White Immortal Valley. He still didn't know much about White Immortal Valley. Perhaps he could find out some useful information. Lin Feng and the others arrived at White Immortal City. Then, the three of them went to a large trading company to inquire about White Immortal Valley. Lin Feng really did find out some information. White Immortal Valley had an extremely long history. It was said that White Immortal Valley already existed before life appeared on this planet. White Immortal Valley was one of the oldest and most mysterious places on this planet. As for the woman who lived in White Immortal Valley, no one knew which era she was from. Moreover, it was said that the woman would occasionally take in disciples. However, the last time she took in a disciple was a long, long time ago. Furthermore, it seemed that no one had come out of White Immortal Valley for a long time. Outsiders didn't know what the situation inside White Immortal Valley was like. Lin Feng asked if there was a way to enter White Immortal Valley. However, the answer he received was that it was impossible to enter White Immortal Valley. Barging into that place was simply courting death. After receiving this information, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Entering White Immortal Valley was indeed extremely difficult. When the stone scripture couldn't break the restrictions of White Immortal Valley, Lin Feng was already mentally prepared. However, Lin Feng wouldn't give up. Lin Feng planned to stay in White Immortal City first before thinking of a way to enter White Immortal Valley. Chapter 56-25. After that, Lin Feng often inquired about the White Immortal Valley in the White Immortal City. Lin Feng went to all the major trading companies, but he couldn't find a way to enter the White Immortal Valley. This made him quite depressed, but Lin Feng had already expected this situation. After all, the White Immortal Valley was too mysterious. Of course, it was extremely difficult to enter. Lin Feng went to the White Immortal Valley a few more times and tried to use the stone scripture to enter the White Immortal Valley many times, but he failed. Lin Feng sent a sound transmission to the Demon Lord. Demon Lord, what do you think is going on? Why can't the stone scripture break the restrictions here? That shouldn't have happened, unless the other party's attainments and restrictions are greater than those of the Celestial Masters. However, theoretically speaking, the Celestial Masters are absolutely unparalleled in all kinds of restrictions and formations. There shouldn't be anyone who can surpass the Celestial Masters, the Demon Lord said. There are always some people in this world who have more powerful methods. Therefore, Even if someone's attainments in formations or restrictions surpass those of the celestial masters, it's actually understandable. Lin Feng nodded. He could only comfort himself like this. Lin Feng returned to the White Immortal City once again. That night, Lin Feng opened his eyes. He felt as if someone was spying on him in the dark. Lin Feng stood up and went to the courtyard outside. He saw a woman standing there. It was a woman in white. She looked to be in her 30s and was very beautiful, like a fairy from the 9 heavens. When he saw the woman, Lin Feng felt as if he was facing a great enemy. Who was this woman? He didn't even notice that she had come here. If she wanted to harm him, then it would be impossible for him to guard against her. Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Fortunately, this woman didn't attack him. If she did, it would be too terrifying. After this woman saw Lin Feng come out, she turned around and seemed to want to leave. Asked Lin Feng, "What's your name, celestial being?" The woman didn't say anything and immediately floated away. After the woman left, Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. He discovered that he was still lying on the bed and wasn't in the courtyard outside. Just now, it was actually a dream. Moreover, he dreamt of a beautiful woman. What was going on? Lin Feng got up. He heard the sound of the night watch outside. It should be 5 o'clock right now because the sound of the night watch outside rang 5 times in a row. The 5th watch was around 3 p.m. There was still some time before dawn. At this moment, Lin Feng looked at the moon in the sky and couldn't help but think about what he had just experienced. What was the matter with that woman? This was because an expert like Lin Feng wouldn't dream casually. Generally, if he did dream, the dream would often indicate something special. For example, the dream that Lin Feng had just had. In the dream, a woman appeared. Was it a sign of something? On this day, in a courtyard not far from Lin Feng's courtyard, the sound of a zither could be heard. The sound of the zither was like the sound of flowing water. It was unknown who was playing the zither. On the second day, Lin Feng saw dozens of people gathered in the grass not far away. Then, a woman sat in the grass with a zither in front of her. The woman was playing the zither, and the sound was very pleasant. Lin Feng looked at the woman. The woman was very beautiful. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the zither sound he heard yesterday. Could it be that the woman playing the zither yesterday was the same woman playing the zither now? Was this the woman playing the zither yesterday? She disturbed this lord's dream. Duzu couldn't help but pout. He wasn't interested in listening to the zither, so naturally, he didn't like listening to others play the zither. It was a very elegant thing, but in Duzu's case, it became a very bad thing. The people listening to the zither here had extraordinary backgrounds. This could be seen from their auras. They were very strong. Evil Sovereign Saint said, "Originally, there shouldn't be many experts on this kind of planet, but after the end of the epoch, many people came out one after another, and the number of experts increased." Lin Feng nodded and said, "True immortals used to be very rare, but now they aren't that rare anymore. After all, after the end of the epoch, the surviving experts of the 3,000 epochs have all come out. One epoch is very long, so how many experts were born in the 3,000 epochs? Besides, many strong cultivators have entered the time reversal world. Now that they've all come out, there are even more strong cultivators in the universe. Actually, it's not necessarily a bad thing that there are so many strong cultivators, because maybe we can join hands with them to resist the battle of destruction. That way, we'll have a much higher chance of success." Lin Feng, Duzu, and the evil sovereign saint didn't talk much about this matter. At this moment, everyone was seriously listening to the zither. Lin Feng, Duzu, and the evil sovereign saint also walked over and listened quietly. Lin Feng liked listening to the zither, as it could calm his mind. However, Duzu didn't seem interested in listening to the zither. He kept looking around, and no one knew what he was looking at. The evil sovereign saint was also interested in listening to the zither, and he seemed to be intoxicated. After the zither stopped, a cultivator in his 30s smiled and said, "Fairy Fengxian's zither is really beautiful. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to find another person in the universe who can play the zither as well as you. This compliment naturally made people overjoyed. The woman called Fairy Feng Xian smiled and said, Young master, you praise me too much. Feng Xian really doesn't dare to accept your praise. Lin Feng couldn't help but be slightly surprised. This woman was actually called Feng Xian. He also knew a fairy with the same name, but it was obvious that they weren't the same person. However, how many people in this world had the same name? Thus, Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. Fairy, don't be modest. No words can describe Fairy Feng's zither music. It's not enough to describe even a tenth of Fairy Feng's zither music, another cultivator said. One after another, many cultivators stood up and chatted with Fairy Feng Xian. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. It was obvious that these people were all Fairy Feng Xian's pursuers. P.S. First update. Can anyone guess who this woman is? Has anyone collected Old Mantu's new book? Devouring the Heavens. It's almost 400,000 words, you can go read it now. It's the last round of PK, everyone go collect it and then vote for it. Old Mantu thanks everyone here. Chapter 5626. Fairy Feng Xian was obviously used to such compliments. Therefore, after hearing these people's compliments, she only smiled and politely chatted with them. Fairy Feng Xian was very elegant. She kept a certain distance from everyone and didn't seem to be too enthusiastic with anyone. From a man's point of view, Fairy Feng Xian was indeed a very charming woman. She was different from those girls. Not only was she beautiful, but she also had a mature and charming temperament. This temperament was extremely attractive to men. Therefore, the fact that so many people were pursuing Fairy Phoenix Fairy was not a particularly strange thing. Fairy Feng Xian looked at Lin Feng and said, This young master looks unfamiliar. You don't seem to be a cultivator from our planet, right? Lin Feng nodded and said, I came from outer space and passed by this place. I came here to rest, so I'm not from this planet. How should I address you, young master? Fairy Feng Xian asked. My surname is Lin, and my name is Feng, Lin Feng said. So it's Lin Gongzi. Nice to meet you, Fairy Feng Xian said with a smile. Many people saw that Fairy Feng seemed to be quite enthusiastic towards Lin Feng, and their expressions immediately became unsightly. Many people glanced at Lin Feng with a trace of coldness in their eyes. There was also a trace of fear in their eyes. Actually, this was very understandable. They had been chasing after Fairy Feng Xian. However, no one had been able to succeed. Lin Feng had an extraordinary aura and was handsome and confident. In addition, Fairy Feng Xian seemed to treat him differently. Naturally, they felt a sense of danger. In fact, the reason why they felt such a sense of danger was mainly because they were worried that Fairy Feng Xian would fall in love with Lin Feng at first sight. This kind of thing was common in the world of cultivators. After all, matters of the heart were the most difficult to talk about. Once they liked each other, their feelings could become uncontrollable. Even if they hadn't experienced it before, they had at least heard of it. Lin Gongzi, where do you want to go? Fairy Feng Xian looked at Lin Feng and asked. I want to make a trip to the buried god Starfield, Lin Feng said. Everyone was shocked after hearing Lin Feng's words. The buried god star region was very far away. Plus, there were many remnants of the previous epoch in this place. Therefore, very few cultivators would go there. Of course, it was said that the buried god star region had some things left behind from the previous epoch. Some top experts would still go there in search of opportunities. In their opinion, Lin Feng might have gone there to find some opportunities because he knew some information. Not just anyone can go to the buried god Starfield. It's better to have some self-awareness. Otherwise, you'll just lose your life in vain. His eyes were filled with mockery as he spoke. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. He didn't pay attention to that person. Why should he worry about someone who had nothing to do with him? Fairy Feng Xian said. It is extremely difficult to find a star map that leads to the buried god Starfield. In the past, cultivators would come to our planet one after another. They also wanted to go to the buried god starfield, but they did not have a complete star map. Could it be that young Master Lin has a complete star map that leads to the buried god starfield? After hearing Fairy Feng Xian's words, everyone was shocked. The eyes of the others lit up slightly. They also knew how precious a complete route to the buried god starfield was. If Lin Feng really did have such a route, they might be able to make a deal with Lin Feng. If they could obtain such a route and sell it, they would be able to make a fortune. Lin Feng said, I don't have a complete route to the buried god starfield. I came here because I wanted to find a complete route to the buried god starfield, but I couldn't find any clues even after visiting many large businesses. However, I heard that the Master of the White Immortal Valley seems to know a complete route to the buried god starfield. I want to visit the Master of the White Immortal Valley, but I can't enter the White Immortal Valley. Fairy Feng Xian, do you know how to enter the White Immortal Valley? A cultivator said. The White Immortal Valley is a forbidden area. Over the countless years, those who have dared to trespass into the White Immortal Valley have never had a good ending. Sir, you should think twice before you act, Lin Feng said. Thank you for the reminder. However, entering the White Immortal Valley and finding the route is still a hope. At that moment, Fairy Feng Xian said, If you want to go to the White Immortal Valley, it will be quite difficult. Then, she frowned slightly. It was unknown what she was thinking. Lin Feng sighed. It seemed that these people also didn't know how to enter the White Immortal Valley. Wanting to enter the White Immortal Valley really made one feel helpless. Lin Feng had already stayed here for a while, but he still hadn't found any clues. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to find clues. At that moment, Fairy Feng Xian said, Actually, if you really want to enter the White Immortal Valley, I know someone who might be able to help. After hearing this, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Fairy Feng really did have some clues. She had obviously been keeping him in suspense. The others were also surprised. They hadn't thought that Fairy Feng would have such a clue. Everyone looked at Fairy Feng Xian. If they had the chance, they would naturally want to enter the White Immortal Valley to take a look and try their luck. Perhaps they would be able to obtain some good fortune. Lin Feng asked, May I know who Fairy Feng Xian is talking about? Fairy Feng faintly smiled and said, In 3 days she will come from afar. At that time, I will hold a welcoming feast for her. At that time, you will be able to see her and know what kind of person she is. All right, I'll have to trouble you to introduce me then, Lin Feng said. Of course, no problem. Fairy Feng Xian smiled. This woman was beautiful to begin with, and when she smiled, it was even more moving. Lin Feng asked, May I know where we will hold a welcoming party for your friend? Fairy Feng Xian said, At the 10,000 Immortals restaurant. When the time comes, please don't forget to come over. I'm sure that my friend who is about to arrive will be extremely interested in getting to know a genius like you. After hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He felt that there was a hidden meaning behind Fairy Feng Xian's words. Chapter 56-27. After parting ways with Fairy Feng Xian, Lin Feng returned to his residence with Du Zhu. Fairy Feng Xian didn't stay outside for long. After exchanging a few pleasantries with her pursuers, she returned to her residence. After returning, Du Zhu said, Why do I feel like there's something wrong with that Fairy Feng Xian? Lin Feng said without batting an eyelid. What do you think is wrong? I can't pinpoint the specifics, but I feel like her appearance and her friend's appearance is a conspiracy. Evil Sovereign said. Actually, I have the same feeling. Young Master, think about it. We're looking for a star map, but we haven't found it after so long. However, we just met someone, and she just so happens to have a friend who can help us solve this problem. How can there be such a coincidence? Although there's no lack of coincidences in this world, I still feel that there's something fishy about this. Lin Feng nodded. Actually, I also feel that there's something fishy about this matter, but we can't say for sure. Maybe Fairy Feng Xian's friend can really help us. Du Zhu and Evil Sovereign nodded. This was indeed a possibility, but one had to be vigilant. Even if this was a possibility, they still had to be careful when facing Fairy Fengxian. This was because if she really did use some dirty tricks, they might fall for it if they weren't on guard. However, Lin Feng was still puzzled. If Fairy Fengxian really had some ulterior motive, what was it? He didn't know this Fairy Fengxian at all. Moreover, Lin Feng was very sure that this was the first time they had met. There was no conflict of interest between them. She also didn't have any reason to scheme against him, right? He could only take one step at a time. Once her friend arrived, he might be able to unravel all the mysteries. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the day that Fairy Fengxian's friends arrived. In the afternoon, Lin Feng and the other two headed to the Myriad Immortal House to participate in the gathering. The 10,000 Immortals restaurant was a very lively restaurant in the White Immortal City. It was also a very high-class restaurant. Fairy Fengxian's status on this planet was obviously very high. When they heard that Fairy Fengxian was here, many geniuses came one after another. 2 days ago, Lin Feng asked Du Zhu to investigate the identity of Fairy Phoenix Fairy. After investigating, Lin Feng found out why so many people were chasing after her. It turned out that Fairy Fengxian's father was the planet master of this planet. With such an extraordinary identity, Fairy Feng would naturally have many suitors. When Lin Feng and the other two arrived at the Myriad Immortal Tower, they bumped into a few geniuses. Previously, when Fairy Phoenix Fairy was playing the zither, these geniuses were also present. These people obviously saw Lin Feng and the other two. The leader looked at Lin Feng and said, "Brother Lin, I have something to tell you." After pausing for a moment, this person continued, "Since you are a passerby here, you should know that there are some things that you should do and some things that you should not do. I think you are a smart person, and smart people know how to choose, so there are some things that I don't have to say so directly. I believe that Brother Lin definitely knows what I mean." Lin Feng could obviously hear the threat in his words. Lin Feng's face immediately revealed a cold smile. This person was clearly more enthusiastic towards him because of Fairy Fengxian. His heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred, which was why he said such threatening words. What was Lin Feng's status now? How could he be threatened by a mere so-called heaven's pride? I don't need you to teach me how to do things. You just need to take care of yourself. Also, there are some people that you can't afford to offend. It's best if you don't say things that you shouldn't say. If you offend someone you can't afford to offend, it will be a disaster for you. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the cultivator's face immediately revealed an extremely ugly expression. Of course, he could hear that Lin Feng's words were a warning to him. As the saying goes, a strong dragon cannot suppress a local snake. Lin Feng was just a foreign cultivator, and he actually dared to say such words to him. He really didn't put him in his eyes. Brother Lu, it seems like the other party really doesn't put you in his eyes. You can't just take this lying down. Someone said, instigating this person to make a move. The cultivator named Lu coldly glanced at Lin Feng. He didn't say anything, nor did he make a move. This was because it was not a good time to make a move. Once he made a move, it was very likely that he would attract Fairy Fengxian's attention. If Fairy Fengxian saw this, her impression of him would be greatly reduced. Therefore, this cultivator didn't plan to make a move. The group of people went upstairs. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil dominator Saint didn't stop either. They also went upstairs and soon arrived at the Myriad Immortal Tower. It was very lively inside. However, ordinary heaven's prides could only gather on the first, second, and third floors. Only the top heaven's prides of this planet were qualified to enter the fourth floor. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil dominator Saint arrived at the private room on the fourth floor. When they arrived, there were already dozens of heaven's prides sitting here. Of course, there were also some heaven's goddesses. Clearly, these people were of noble birth and should be the descendants of the top forces on this planet. After seeing Lin Feng and the other two arrive, many people revealed surprised expressions. This was because they didn't know the three newcomers. Of course, there were also people who knew them. However, perhaps because Fairy Feng Xian was more enthusiastic towards Lin Feng, those who knew Lin Feng didn't have a good expression when they saw Lin Feng. Their eyes were gloomy and cold. Lin Gongzi, you're here? Lin Gongzi, please take a seat. After seeing Lin Feng arrive, Fairy Feng Xian was as enthusiastic as ever. Seeing Fairy Feng Xian being so enthusiastic towards Lin Feng, many people were shocked. Many male cultivators were Fairy Feng Xian's pursuers, and their faces immediately became gloomy. As the daughter of the planet's master, Fairy Feng Xian's identity was too noble. Who knew how many people wanted to pursue her? When those people saw how enthusiastic Fairy Feng Xian was towards Lin Feng, they naturally felt that Fairy Feng Xian might have a crush on Lin Feng. This was naturally something they couldn't accept. Chapter 56-28. Lin Feng's heart was as clear as a mirror. Maybe Feng Xian was trying to make people think that she was interested in him. Lin Feng's heart was like a mirror. Maybe Feng Xian was trying to make people think that she was interested in him. Was she trying to draw hatred towards him? Lin Feng thought so because he felt that a woman like Fairy Phoenix Xian couldn't be so superficial. How could she fall in love with a stranger at first sight? Moreover, Lin Feng felt that Fairy Phoenix Xian had some other motives, but Lin Feng didn't know what they were. However, Lin Feng didn't say anything. He planned to wait and see. He, Duzu, and the evil Reverend Saint found a place to sit down. Fairy Phoenix Xian said, "Everyone, I believe that my friend will be here soon. Let's wait patiently." Naturally, no one had any questions. Everyone was curious about who Fairy Phoenix Xian's friend was. After waiting for about 15 minutes, a woman entered the private room. This woman was tall and wore a long white dress. Her graceful and delicate body was wrapped in the dress. She was very charming, and the mature temperament she exuded was even more charming than Fairy Phoenix Fairy. Fairy Phoenix Xian could be considered a top-grade beauty, but compared to this woman, she was still lacking. Every action of this woman was extremely tempting to men. Her face was exquisite and beautiful, like a masterpiece from the heavens. It was like a perfect work of art. After seeing this woman, many people couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Clearly, this woman had a great impact on everyone. She was the kind of woman who could make people fantasize with just a glance. However, Lin Feng wasn't like the others. Lin Feng had seen all kinds of beauties. Although this woman was very charming, Lin Feng didn't have any special thoughts about her. "Little sister Phoenix Xian, am I late?" After this woman arrived, she looked at Fairy Feng Xian and revealed a smile. "Sister, of course you're not late. We just arrived not long ago." Fairy Feng Xian was very happy to see this woman. She quickly got up and walked over to the woman. She grabbed her hands. It seemed that the person Fairy Phoenix Xian was waiting for was this woman. Originally, some of them were worried that the friend Fairy Feng Xian was waiting for was a male cultivator. That way, the competition between them would be even greater. However, when they saw that it was actually such a beautiful woman, many of them finally relaxed. Some of them were even fantasizing that if they could get their hands on Fairy Feng Xian and this female cultivator who had just arrived, they would be able to play with two phoenixes. That would truly be the ultimate enjoyment of life. However, it seemed that this kind of thing could only be thought of. If such a woman could be with one of them, it would be a blessing from his previous life. To want to get both of them at the same time, wasn't this just a daydream? "It has been many years. Have you been well these years?" the woman asked. "Everything has been well. It's just that I have been missing Big Sister all these years. Now that Big Sister has arrived, I am very happy." "Big Sister, let's take a seat," Fairy Phoenix Xian said. Of course, they were not sisters by blood. This was because Fairy Phoenix Xian was the only daughter of the Planet Lord. Since they called each other sisters, perhaps they were god-sisters, or perhaps they were close friends. Hence, they called themselves sisters. After the two of them sat down, a genius asked, "Fairy Phoenix Xian, may I know the name of this new fairy?" Fairy Phoenix Xian smiled and said, This big sister is called Fairy 100 Flowers. She is a heavenly fairy born from flowers. Fairy 100 Flowers was a titled god. However, it was hard to say whether this woman was a titled god or not. After all, Fairy 100 Flowers was in existence from a very long time ago. This woman did not seem very old, and her life force was also relatively young. Hence, she might have simply inherited this title. As for Fairy Phoenix Xian's specific name, she did not tell the others. Since Fairy Phoenix Xian did not say anything, the others were very tactful and did not ask. If they insisted on getting to the bottom of this matter, it would only give them a bad impression. Fairy 100 Flowers said, "This is my first time here. I hope that everyone can take care of me in the future." Many people were very enthusiastic, and then they hurriedly tried to get close to Fairy 100 Flowers. Of course, the ones doing this were mostly the male cultivators. As for the female cultivators, they did not move, and their expressions were cold. Women like to compare. Some women like to compare wealth and material things, while others like to compare appearance and figure. Women who liked to compare wealth and material were often women from the secular world. This was because women from the world of cultivators could obtain wealth at their fingertips. As for the women who came here, their status was extraordinary. Naturally, they didn't lack wealth. Of course, they would compare their figures, appearances, and other aspects. They could not compare to Fairy Phoenix Xian, and were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred towards Fairy Phoenix Xian. When they saw that Fairy Phoenix Xian's best friend was actually so charming, and even more mature and charming than Fairy Phoenix Xian, they naturally felt even more jealous. It would be strange if they could not look at her with a good expression. At this time, Fairy Phoenix Xian said, "Sister, let me introduce you to a young master." "Oh, who is it?" Fairy 100 Flowers asked curiously. "It's this young master." Fairy Phoenix Xian pointed at Lin Feng and said, "This young master is called Lin Feng. Lin Gongzi wants to go to the buried god Starfield." Because Lin Gongzi does not have a complete starry sky route map, he has been looking for information about it during this period of time. Back then, I remember Sister telling me that Sister has some connections with the White Immortal Valley, and that she has a way to enter the White Immortal Valley. After I found out that Lin Gongzi wanted to enter the White Immortal Valley to find the starry sky route map, I thought that Sister would come over during this period of time, so I told Lin Gongzi some things about Sister. After hearing Fairy Phoenix Xian's words, Fairy 100 Flowers was very surprised. She looked at Lin Feng and asked, "Young master actually wants to go to the buried god Starfield? That place is very dangerous, and there are many magnetic fields along the way. If you go there, you might get lost in those magnetic fields, and once you get lost, you will be doomed eternally." Chapter 56-29. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, "Could it be that 100 Flower Fairy has been to the buried god Starfield before?" 100 Flower Fairy replied, "Back then I did follow an elder to the buried god Starfield, but when we reached the first magnetic field, we were forced to return. That place was simply too dangerous, and even with a star map, it was very difficult to successfully pass through the magnetic field." Lin Feng revealed a trace of joy, because 100 Flower Fairy's words contained an extremely important piece of information. That elder of hers had a star map. Lin Feng asked, "May I know where that elder of yours is now?" 100 Flower Fairy replied, "My elder has already passed away." When Lin Feng heard by Hua Fairy, he said, "I'm sorry I reminded you of something so sad." 100 Flower Fairy replied, "It's fine. Everyone is born, grows old, gets sick, and dies. This is the law of nature, and it's unavoidable." 100 Flower Fairy was clearly open-minded, and Lin Feng admired her quite a bit. Asked Lin Feng, "Do you know the route to the god's grave star region, celestial being?" 100 Flower Fairy said, "Although that elder of mine knew the route, I didn't. Because I was still young at the time, I wasn't particularly interested in starry sky routes, so I didn't ask that elder what the route to the buried god Starfield was like. Later on, when I wanted to know more about it, That elder of mine had already passed away, so I couldn't ask about it. I'm really sorry, but I can't provide the complete Starry Sky route for young master, Lin Feng said. Fairy, please don't tell me. Also, what did you do wrong? Fairy Phoenix Fairy said that you have a way to enter the White Immortal Valley. Is that true? 100 Flower Fairy said. I do know how to enter, but if someone who has no connection to the White Immortal Valley enters, they will have to undergo a test. The White Immortal Valley's test is extremely dangerous, and once you undergo the test, you won't be able to withdraw. If you can't pass the test, you will definitely die. There have been many dazzling geniuses who thought they could pass the test, so they accepted the test, but in the end, they all died in the test. Lin Feng said. Although the test is very dangerous, I still want to participate in it. I hope Fairy can help me talk about this matter. 100 Flower Fairy said. Since Lin Gongzi insists on entering the White Immortal Valley, I can help you ask about it. Give me a few days, and I'll inform you when I have news. At that moment, a cultivator asked. Fairy, can we also accept the test? 100 Flower Fairy said. 100 Flower Fairy. Flower Fairy said. If you want to participate in the test, of course, you can, of course. But I've already told you that the test is dangerous, and it's very likely that you will die in the test, so you must be very careful. Many people were very curious about the White Immortal Valley. After all, the White Immortal Valley had a long history, and it had always been shrouded in a mysterious aura. Many people believe that there must be many great opportunities in that place. If they missed this opportunity, it would be impossible for them to get such an opportunity again. Therefore, even though they knew that this test was very dangerous, many people still wanted to participate in this test. Therefore, a cultivator said, We have already thought about it. Said by Hua Fairy while nodding. Then, she told everybody to wait for news from her like Lin Feng. As for the test, Lin Feng was not worried. Lin Feng was quite confident in himself. Although the White Immortal Valley was very strange, and the restrictions there were very powerful and terrifying, Lin Feng believed that with his current means, it should not be too big of a problem to deal with these dangers. Of course, there were still some things that should be taken care of. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to go to the White Immortal Valley by himself. As for Du Zhu and the evil sovereign saint, Lin Feng asked them to stay for the time being. Lin Feng wanted to leave some backup plans. If he really needed to use these backup plans, Du Zhu and the evil sovereign saint would play a key role. After returning, Lin Feng lived in seclusion and prepared some backup plans. At this time, 100 Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy were flying in the direction of the White Immortal Valley. Seeing Phoenix Fairy frowning, 100 Flower Fairy said, Sister, do you want to help me deal with Lin Feng? Do you feel bad about it? After all, there is no enmity between you and Lin Feng, and I've dragged you into our enmity. Hearing 100 Flower Fairy's words, Fairy Phoenix Fairy asked, Why does elder sister think so? Flower Fairy sighed and said, That's because sister has always been an extremely kind person, but now that she's involved in this matter, she'll definitely find it hard to accept. I can understand that. Fairy Fengxian said, Although we are not sisters by blood, we are as close as sisters. Back then, if it wasn't for you, I would have died in the outer realm. So, no matter what you want me to do, I will do it willingly. Lin Feng has enmity with you, so he is my enemy. Therefore, I have no qualms about dealing with Lin Feng. Hearing Fairy Phoenix Fairy's words, 100 Flower Fairy felt much better. Phoenix Fairy said, It's just that I'm a bit worried. After all, Lin Feng is an extremely powerful person, and we might not be able to deal with him. If we fail this time, our end will be very miserable. 100 Flower Fairy smiled. Sister, you don't have to worry. This time, we're borrowing the power of the White Immortal Valley to deal with Lin Feng. The White Immortal Valley is an extremely terrifying place, and dealing with a mere Lin Feng won't be a problem. Fairy Phoenix Fairy could not help but ponder for a moment before nodding. Although she did not know much about the White Immortal Valley, she knew that 100 Flower Fairy was very familiar with it. Since 100 Flower Fairy had said so, then she did not have to worry too much about this matter. Chapter 56:30. Soon, Lin Feng received news from Flower Fairy. She said that he could go to White Immortal Valley in 5 days and accept the test. If he could pass the test, he would be able to enter White Immortal Valley. After receiving this news, Lin Feng was very happy. He could finally go to White Immortal Valley to accept the test. Lin Feng had been looking forward to this matter. Of course, he also knew that there was something wrong with the 2 women, but it didn't matter. Lin Feng had already prepared for everything. No matter what schemes they used, Lin Feng wasn't afraid of them at all. When the appointed day arrived, Lin Feng went to White Immortal Valley. When they arrived outside of the White Celestial Valley, Lin Feng noticed that there were many people there. Some people had come to watch the fun, and some people had come to take the test. For example, the cultivator named Lu had come to take the test. His cultivation was quite good, but it also depended on who he was compared to. If he was compared to Lin Feng, the difference was too great. When the cultivator surnamed Lu saw Lin Feng, he smiled coldly. Previously, he didn't want to arouse Fairy Fengxian's disgust. Even if he had a verbal conflict with Lin Feng, he didn't do anything to Lin Feng. However, he also wanted to enter White Immortal Valley to accept the test. If he met Lin Feng during the test, he wouldn't mind attacking Lin Feng. Lin Feng also saw this person, but Lin Feng didn't care at all. At this moment, Lin Feng was guessing the content of this test. However, no matter what kind of test it was, Lin Feng could deal with it accordingly. With his current strength, he indeed dared to say such words. Not long after, Flower Fairy and Fairy Fengxian flew out of White Immortal Valley. There was a reason why the White Immortal Valley was named White Immortal Valley. It was said that the original master of White Immortal Valley was surnamed Bai. This was an immortal valley surrounded by countless mysterious colors. From then on, this place was called White Immortal Valley. This was also the origin of the name White Immortal Valley. As for the woman's name, no one knew. After Flower Fairy and Fairy Fengxian flew out, they smiled and looked at everyone. Flower Fairy said, "Everyone, those who want to participate in this test, please come to my left." Then, all the participants came to the left side of 100 Flower Fairy. In total, there were more than 30 people. Every one of them was eager to take part in the White Immortal Valley's test. However, most of the people here were just here to watch the show. Flower Fairy looked at the 30 people and said, "Everyone, since you want to participate in the test, there are some things that I have to tell you. When you participate in the test, you must be careful. This is because the test area of White Immortal Valley is very strange. It can often create a lot of illusions. Therefore, only those who are very familiar with you can trust them. If you are not familiar with them, don't trust them, because they might not be cultivators who entered with you. It is very likely that they are illusions created by White Immortal Valley during the test. If they are cultivators who entered with you, of course we can trust them, but if we can't confirm their identity, we must be careful." After hearing this, many people nodded in agreement. Lin Feng sneered in his heart. If Flower Fairy didn't know how to deal with these dangers, Lin Feng wouldn't believe it. However, at this moment, Flower Fairy said not to trust others easily, and before the test, it seemed like she wanted to make everyone suspicious of each other. Lin Feng always felt that this Flower Fairy wasn't as pure as she looked on the surface. 100 Flower Fairy said, "Everyone, if you're ready, let's begin the test." Then let's begin. After hearing Flower Fairy's words, many people responded. Then, the group of people who were about to participate in the test arrived outside White Immortal Valley. In front of them was the terrifying restriction of White Immortal Valley, so everyone stopped. Before the restriction was opened, no one dared to rashly touch the restriction of White Immortal Valley. Doing so would be courting death. Baihua Fairy formed one hand seal after another. The hand seals sank into the restriction. Then a lot of very strange energy escaped from the restrictions. This strange energy wrapped around the more than 30 cultivators participating in the test. When the energy wrapped around these cultivators, all the cultivators were sucked into the White Immortal Valley by the energy. When Lin Feng reappeared, he found that the surroundings were covered in white fog. Moreover, the other cultivators were nowhere to be seen. After arriving here, Lin Feng slightly raised his eyebrows. It seems that this is the place where the test will be held. Lin Feng walked all the way into the depths. Not long after, Lin Feng heard a scream from afar. He quickly rushed over and saw a cultivator lying on the ground. At this moment, the cultivator was already dead. Lin Feng checked him, but didn't find any wounds on his body. It was really strange. However, the cultivator's pupils were wide open. From the looks of it, he seemed to have seen something terrifying, and then that terrifying thing scared him to death. Although it sounded unbelievable, but from his expression, he really did die like that. However, what exactly scared him to death, Lin Feng didn't find out. After Lin Feng came in, he felt that this place was very quiet. Nothing came out to attack Lin Feng, which made Lin Feng very surprised. Lin Feng continued to walk inside. Not long after, he saw another corpse. Lin Feng frowned. After walking next to the corpse, he checked it. The corpse still didn't have any wounds, but the way this cultivator died was the same as the previous one. His pupils were wide open. Obviously, he died from excessive fear. Of course, it was also possible that his soul was attacked. However, since he had been dead for so long, his soul had already dissipated. Lin Feng naturally had no way to check his soul. Therefore, Lin Feng had the impression that they had either died because their souls had been attacked or because they had been scared to death. If their souls were attacked, then it would be better. But if they were scared to death, then what in the world could scare these cultivators to death? Chapter 56:31. Lin Feng continued to walk inside. In the following period of time, he found more than a dozen corpses. These cultivators all died in the same way. However, Lin Feng walked for so long and still didn't encounter any danger. This place didn't even have restrictions. It was reasonable to say that this place was where everyone was tested. Why were there no restrictions? It was really quite strange. The more peaceful a place was, the more dangerous it might be. Lin Feng was very clear about this. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. He was very vigilant, and carefully used his spiritual force to sense the surroundings. Not long after, Lin Feng saw a few more corpses. These corpses fell outside a valley. After seeing these corpses, Lin Feng quickly walked over and checked the situation of these corpses. These corpses died in the same way as the cultivators before. However, one of the corpses caught Lin Feng's attention. This corpse had died in the same way as the other corpses. However, there were some blood-colored words in the palm of this corpse. Unfortunately, these words couldn't be seen clearly. This made Lin Feng feel a little helpless. This was the only clue, but it was broken just like that. Ah! At this moment, a scream of horror came from afar. After hearing that scream, Lin Feng quickly flew over. In a mountain not far away, Lin Feng saw the cultivator surnamed Lu, who had a verbal conflict with him before. At this moment, the cultivator surnamed Lu's body fell to the ground and twitched violently. Lin Feng quickly came to the side of the cultivator surnamed Lu. Lin Feng wanted to get some clues from him, but when Lin Feng came to his side, the cultivator was already dead. His pupils suddenly widened, as if he had experienced something terrifying before he died. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. This cultivator had died in such a strange way. However, Lin Feng didn't find any clues. How did he die? This time, Lin Feng even watched him die. Lin Feng went to check his soul and found that his soul didn't suffer any damage. However, he still died. It was very strange. This method of death seemed to be cursed. Lin Feng sensed for a moment, and didn't feel the power of the curse. Although he didn't feel the power of the curse, Lin Feng still felt that it might be related to the curse. Not long after, Lin Feng heard another scream. Lin Feng quickly rushed over. This time, it was a woman who had screamed. There were a total of 3 women participating in the test. This woman was one of them. At that moment, The woman was hugging her head and leaning against a tree. She was shrieking in pain. Nobody knew what was going on. Lin Feng arrived next to the woman. Then, he gently touched the woman's body. The woman immediately quieted down. Then, her body softly fell into Lin Feng's arms. The woman looked to be around 30 years old. Of course, her real age was obviously more than that. She had a voluptuous figure and was quite beautiful. After falling into Lin Feng's arms, she finally showed an expression of relief. He wondered what she had gone through in the past. In order to prevent any other accidents from happening to the woman, Lin Feng carefully checked her body and soul. After finding that there were no problems, Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief. The woman didn't die. It was a happy thing. When she woke up later, he could ask her about some of the things she had encountered before. Lin Feng found a place to put the woman down. The woman's breathing gradually stabilized. When night fell, the woman woke up. I actually didn't die. The woman was pleasantly surprised after waking up. She sat up and saw Lin Feng. It's you? The woman asked. She clearly recognized Lin Feng. Although she didn't know who Lin Feng was, they had taken the test together. Naturally, she still remembered Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and said, How do you feel now? I feel much better now. You must have saved me. Thank you for saving me, the woman said. Lin Feng said, No need to thank me. Oh, right. What on earth did you experience during the day? Why did you feel so much pain? The woman said, It felt like a special power invaded my body, making it difficult for me to control my body. Then I fell into a world of darkness. I saw many terrifying scenes. I wanted to struggle and resist, but I couldn't. I thought I was going to die, but at that moment, a ray of light appeared in the darkness. After seeing that light, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I saw you, sir. Now that I think about it, was that ray of light because of Sir's arrival? Hearing the woman's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but be astonished. Then he frowned. What was going on? Could it be that the strange energy had pulled her into a dark world? Could it be that those people had died in the same way? At that moment, the woman who had been talking to Lin Feng revealed a strange smile. Then she suddenly sent a palm strike at Lin Feng. Luckily, Lin Feng was extremely strong, and his reactions were extremely fast. Although the two of them were very close to each other, the woman suddenly launched a sneak attack at Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng still managed to react. Lin Feng sent a palm strike at the woman, and the two of them collided. They were evenly matched. The woman's sneak attack had failed, and her body quickly floated back. Chapter 5632. Who are you? Lin Feng looked at the woman with a gloomy expression. The woman laughed sinisterly and said, What a good method. You've made me feel a trace of excitement. Only killing an expert like you is interesting to me. It won't be that easy to kill me. Lin Feng sneered. The woman revealed a strange smile. Then her eyes dimmed, and her body fell to the ground. Lin Feng could clearly feel that when her body fell to the ground, all the vitality in her body quickly disappeared. Lin Feng quickly walked over and checked the woman's condition. The woman's eyes suddenly widened, and she died in the same way. Lin Feng's expression became more and more serious. Why did the woman suddenly seem like a different person after waking up? Then she attacked him. Then she suddenly died. Was he possessed by something just now? Lin Feng felt that this might be the reason. He felt that although the person who had just spoken was still in the woman's body, her soul seemed to have been replaced by the soul of another creature. But Lin Feng didn't feel anything approaching. Lin Feng had checked her soul before, and there was no problem at all. With Lin Feng's powerful cultivation, it was basically impossible for the other party to hide from him. But the thing was, everything clearly pointed to the woman being controlled. This was also something that Lin Feng couldn't understand. Looking at the woman's corpse, Lin Feng sighed. She was originally a peerless beauty, but unfortunately, she had died in this place. It was really a pity. But the world of cultivators was really too cruel. Who knew how many people died every day? And among those who died, who knew how many beauties there were? Lin Feng left the place and found a place to rest. Lin Feng sat cross-legged. The night was getting darker, and he couldn't see his own fingers. A gloomy aura filled the world. At that moment, Lin Feng clearly felt that a strange power was invading his body. When Lin Feng wanted to resist, he found that his body couldn't. Lin Feng felt that things were a little bad. Was this the strange energy that the woman had mentioned before? What kind of energy was this? Soon, Lin Feng felt that his thoughts were still there, but he lost control of his body. Then, Lin Feng felt that he had arrived in a dark world. Then, Lin Feng saw countless scenes. Those scenes included his family, relatives, lovers, friends, fellow disciples, subordinates, and so on. At that moment, those scenes showed that they had all died miserably in the destruction of the world. Those scenes should be the scene of the end of the era. And he could only watch them die. There was no way to save them. The endless dark power was devouring him. Lin Feng could feel that he was walking towards death. No wonder these people were so terrified. They could clearly feel that they were being devoured by the darkness. They could clearly feel their lives slipping away. But they couldn't resist. Was there anything scarier than this situation? Watching one's loved ones, relatives, friends, subordinates, and so on die miserably and feeling their lives slipping away, yet they couldn't resist. The two emotions intertwined and dealt a heavy blow to one's soul. No one could resist. No one could break free from the darkness. Lin Feng was the same. He kept struggling, trying to escape from the darkness. He wanted to see the light. He wanted to return to the real world. He wanted to regain control of his body. But no matter how hard Lin Feng tried, he couldn't do it. What is hiding in the dark? Lin Feng shouted in the darkness. At that moment, a gloomy voice resounded. Boy, I have to say that you have some tricks up your sleeve. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you know what's going on. When that voice resonated in the air, Lin Feng knew that the person who had caused all these strange things had appeared. I'm a demon born from the darkness. I don't have a physical body. Strictly speaking, I'm just an extremely special form of energy. I can enter anyone's body and create a dark space of death. No matter who it is, as long as they're trapped in my space of death, they'll die, just like what you're going through right now. After hearing that, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. What kind of method was that? It was so strange. Lin Feng had never seen such a strange method before. It was really terrifying. It could kill people silently. Anyone who encountered such an existence would be terrified. Because the unknown was the scariest. Now that you know everything, you can die. The terrifying existence's voice resounded again. Then, endless darkness swept over, as if it wanted to devour Lin Feng's life. Suddenly, Lin Feng's voice resounded between heaven and earth. I am the master of fate. I control the fate of all living things. After Lin Feng's voice resounded, an endless amount of holy light gushed out of Lin Feng's body. The dazzling holy light made Lin Feng look like an incomparably hot sun. When the light of the sun shone out, the darkness was dispelled. Lin Feng struggled out of the darkness. Then, he opened his eyes and summoned his 6 black holes. The black holes condensed together and sealed the void. An extremely strange energy was sealed in midair. This energy was the terrifying existence that had been hiding in the dark. Seal! Lin Feng sneered. He directly sent out endless runes. The runes that surged out were combined with the stone's scripture. The power of the stone's scripture increased greatly. It directly sealed the unknown and terrifying existence. Damn it, let go of me, let go of me. The unknown and terrifying existence struggled violently. However, Lin Feng's sealing runes were too terrifying. No matter how it struggled, it couldn't break free. Chapter 56-33. Ha ha! Do you know how strong I am now? Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. He was feeling a little proud of himself. In fact, Lin Feng had planned to beat the other party at his own game. He had risked his life to lure the terrifying existence out because that was the only way Lin Feng could lure it out. If he didn't lure the terrifying existence out, it would just hide in the dark. Who knew when it would attack? Lin Feng just so happened to have the Great Destiny technique, and he also had a Destiny bloodline. When the Great Destiny technique and the Destiny bloodline were used together, they could erupt with terrifying power. In other words, Lin Feng had managed to reverse fate at the most crucial moment. He had even managed to seal the terrifying existence. The terrifying existence was indeed very strong. The most powerful thing about it was its strange methods. It could silently kill people. If it hadn't appeared, no one would have been able to deal with it. If it hadn't let down its guard after getting carried away, Lin Feng wouldn't have been able to turn the tables on Lin Feng. At this moment, the terrifying being had clearly figured out the ins and outs of the entire matter. It roared furiously. "Brat, you're despicable and shameless! You tricked me on purpose!" Lin Feng sneered. "Yes, I tricked you on purpose. You got carried away too much. If you hadn't, I wouldn't have been able to trick you even if I wanted to. You brought this upon yourself. Now, answer my questions honestly. If you don't, I'll use my heavenly flames to burn you alive." The terrifying existence said coldly. "I'm an energy body, and an immortal one at that. Your heavenly flames won't be able to burn me to death." Lin Feng sneered. Even if there was something in the world that was immortal, it definitely wasn't this guy. "Is that so? Then let's see if I can really burn you to death," said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. Then, he released his 8 types of celestial fire. When the cultivator saw that Lin Feng had 8 types of celestial fire, he couldn't believe his eyes. "How come you have so many celestial fires?" Lin Feng said. "That's because I'm awesome." The terrifying existence was speechless. This brat was too full of himself. Lin Feng said coldly. "Do you think I can burn you to death with these heavenly flames?" If Lin Feng only had 1 or 2 heavenly flames, he might not be able to burn this guy to death. However, Lin Feng now had 8 heavenly flames. It was simply unimaginable how terrifying the power of these heavenly flames would be when stacked together. Given enough time, Lin Feng could burn Lin Feng's heavenly flames to him. "Any's cultivation," said the terrifying existence with a gloomy expression. "Fine, you win. What do you want to ask?" Lin Feng asked. "How were you born?" Upon hearing Lin Feng's question, the terrifying existence said, "Actually, I was born because of some special reasons." After pausing for a moment, he continued, "Back then, I was just a strand of spirituality within the demonic energy. However, one day, I fused with a strand of the first celestial master's demonic will, and I began to transform." Lin Feng was astonished. He hadn't thought that such a terrifying cultivator would have something to do with him. The first celestial teacher was the one who had created the celestial teacher sect. He could be considered Lin Feng's ancestor. Lin Feng wasn't particularly familiar with the first celestial master. However, the celestial master Dao he had created back then was terrifying. From this, one could see how extraordinary the first celestial master was. However, Lin Feng was somewhat puzzled. With the first celestial master's ability, he should have been able to break the curse of the celestial master Dao, right? However, he hadn't been able to do so. Lin Feng asked, "Who is the first celestial master? Aren't you the successor of the celestial master Dao? You don't even know who the first celestial master is?" The terrifying existence asked. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. "Many of our records have disappeared. Of course, the first celestial master is a mystery. Is it strange that I don't know who the first celestial master is?" The terrifying existence said. "If that's the case, then I can understand. The first celestial master is called Yushang." "Yushang? You're saying that he's called Yushang?" Lin Feng was astonished. Back then, Lin Feng had seen some images of the mysterious metal box and the supreme divine ability. He had seen a ruler who had been ambushed inside. That ruler was called Yushang. Were the two of them the same person? asked Lin Feng. You're talking about Yishang, is he the ruler of Bahuang? The terrifying existence said. Yes, it's him. He's the founder of the Celestial Master Dao. Back then, when he created the Celestial Master Dao, some methods of the Celestial Master Dao threatened some extremely terrifying existences. Therefore, those existences joined forces to destroy Yushang. Those existences are too terrifying. They're so terrifying that you can't even imagine them. I can only tell you that one of those people who joined forces was the ruler of the world of the Master Hand. Think about it, the ruler of the world of the Master Hand manipulated this universe. He destroyed epochs one after another. He was a terrifying existence, but he was only one of those people. Actually, they wanted to kill Yushang, but Yushang was too strong. He fought with them until both sides were injured. Therefore, they joined forces to weaken Yushang's cultivation. Because Yushang's cultivation was weakened too much, he suffered a calamity later on. If Yushang's cultivation hadn't been weakened, perhaps the Celestial Master Dao wouldn't have been cursed. Lin Feng asked. What do you mean? Are those existences who cursed the Celestial Master Dao mainly the ruler, and the others behind the scenes? The terrifying existence said. That's right. It's those guys. Of course. There are many curses in the world. Some of them are related to them, but there are also many that have nothing to do with them. If you're an existence born from a strand of Yushang's demonic will, why are you here? Lin Feng asked curiously. I've been imprisoned in this place. I've tried to escape again and again, but I've never been able to. Chapter 5634. You're imprisoned here? Who would imprison you here? Lin Feng asked curiously. The terrifying existence said. Of course it was that bitch from the White Immortal Valley who imprisoned me here and tortured me for many years. She made me wish I was dead, and she refused to let me out. I hate her to death, and I want to eat her flesh and drink her blood. I want her to descend to the 18th level of hell, and I want her to never rise again. I want her to never be reincarnated. It seemed that the terrifying existence's hatred was quite deep. It was gnashing its teeth as it spoke. It wanted nothing more than to kill that bitch from White Immortal Valley. Lin Feng asked curiously. Is there some kind of enmity between the two of you? The terrifying existence said. I don't even fucking know this woman. We met by chance, and then this woman captured me and imprisoned me here. You must have offended her with your words. That's why she attacked you, Lin Feng said. The terrifying being replied. Offended my ass. I didn't even say a single word to her back then. Then she captured me. Now that I think about it, it's really depressing. If she hadn't captured me, I wouldn't have been able to imagine how terrifying I would have been all these years. Besides, because of her imprisonment, my strength has been greatly reduced. Otherwise, do you think you would have been able to seal me? This guy's words were quite true. After being sealed for so long, this guy's strength had indeed declined greatly. With such a drastic decline, it was very normal for him to be depressed. Is this place connected to the inner part of White Immortal Valley? Lin Feng asked. Correct. This place is connected to the inner part of White Immortal Valley. However, the natural laws here restrict me greatly, so I can't leave. You guys aren't restricted at all. Generally speaking, very few people would enter this trial path. I'm rather puzzled as to why you all would enter this place. The terrifying existence asked. I wanted to find the star map that led to the buried god's starfield, and I received news that the master of the White Immortal Valley knew about the star map. A woman called 100 Flower Fairy said that if I passed the test, I would be able to reach the depths of the White Immortal Valley and meet the master of the White Immortal Valley. So I participated in this test, Lin Feng said. The master of White Immortal Valley fell into a deep sleep a long time ago. Of course, she might have already died. I don't know the details because I've been in prison here all this time. I can't go out and see how she's doing. What? Is that so? When Lin Feng heard that, his expression suddenly changed. He had wanted to obtain the star map from the leader of the White Celestial Valley. If the leader of the White Celestial Valley died, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to obtain it. Of course. If that bitch hadn't encountered some terrible situation, why wouldn't she have come to torment me? I haven't sensed her life force all these years, so I think it's very likely that she has died. This was something that Lin Feng didn't expect. However, Lin Feng still had some doubts. The fact that 100-Flower Fairy could freely enter and leave White Immortal Valley meant that she had some sort of relationship with White Immortal Valley. Who exactly was she? Maybe Bai Hua Fairy knows the complete route. However, when she said that she didn't know, she was obviously lying to him. You know this 100-Flower Fairy, right? Lin Feng asked. I know this woman. Back then, she came to the White Immortal Valley with a keepsake, but I don't know what kind of relationship she has with the White Immortal Valley. Perhaps there's some history between them. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. The current situation was somewhat out of his expectations. Lin Feng couldn't help but think. This time, 100-Flower Fairy set him up to come here. She wanted him to die here, right? What kind of grudge do I have with 100-Flower Fairy? Lin Feng hadn't seen 100-Flower Fairy before, so he really didn't know what kind of grudge she had with him. As for that fairy Phoenix Fairy, in Lin Feng's opinion, she was only one of 100-Flower Fairy's followers. The mastermind behind all of this was actually 100-Flower Fairy. Do you want to go out? Lin Feng asked. Yes. Of course I want to go out. Can you let me out? The terrifying existence hurriedly asked. Lin Feng nodded and said, Of course I can let you out. If you bring me to the exit, I'll let you out. The reason why he let this guy out was because Lin Feng felt that 100-Flower Fairy might have some powerful tricks up her sleeves. This terrifying existence might be of some use. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the terrifying existence became extremely excited. But then it shook its head and said, I'm heavily restricted by the laws here. I can't leave this place. Lin Feng said, Why can't you leave? Everything is possible. I'll use the Great Fate technique to change your fate. After your fate is changed, you can leave. Hearing that, the terrifying existence's eyes suddenly lit up. That's right. This guy in front of him knew the Great Fate technique and could change someone's fate. Once someone's fate was changed, some impossible things could happen. Very well, follow me. We'll go to the exit now. The terrifying existence said. Lin Feng removed the seal on the terrifying existence's body. This was because Lin Feng's power had already fused into its life force. Even if Lin Feng removed the seal, it still wouldn't be able to escape. Lin Feng wasn't afraid that it would ambush him again. Furthermore, Lin Feng felt that this guy really wanted to leave, so it probably wouldn't attack him again. After about an hour, they arrived at a valley. This place was filled with extremely powerful space-time laws. The terrifying existence said, After passing through the space-time laws in the depths of the valley, you'll be able to enter the core of the White Immortal Valley. You can go in now, but because I'm restricted by the laws here, I can't pass through. After saying that, the terrifying existence looked at Lin Feng expectantly. It hoped that Lin Feng could fulfill his promise and help it change its fate, allowing it to escape the restrictions of this place. End of chapter. Chapter 5635. Since he had already agreed to this matter, Lin Feng naturally would not go back on his word. Lin Feng directly activated the Great Fate technique, and a powerful force of fate descended, directly enveloping this terrifying existence. Then, this terrifying existence's fate was immediately changed, and its life aura underwent an earth-shattering change. This terrifying existence excitedly laughed out loud. My fate has been changed. I no longer need to be suppressed. This is great. I can finally see the light of day again. Right now, this terrifying existence was extremely excited. Previously, it had been imprisoned here. That kind of life was worse than death. However, it had always persevered. It hoped that one day it would be able to see the light of day again, and now it finally saw this hope. Said Lin Feng. Congratulations, you're finally free. Now let's go in together, but you better hide. Don't expose yourself. Don't worry, I will hide very well. I want to see if that bitch from back then is already dead. This terrifying existence fiercely said. Its resentment towards that woman in the white immortal valley was truly great. Lin Feng and this terrifying existence directly passed through the distorted space-time, and then they entered a mountain forest filled with the fragrance of flowers and birds, spirit beasts galloping, and purple chi spewing out. The environment here was really too good. It was like a paradise, without any disturbances. It was very peaceful. Even further away, immortal cranes flapped their wings and flew past. These immortal cranes were not afraid of people, and soared above the 9 heavens. Lin Feng knew that this should be the core of the White Immortal Valley. Lin Feng did not know where 100 Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy were. He flew towards the depths, and not long after, 2 figures flew out from the depths. After seeing these 2 figures, Lin Feng revealed a cold smile, but then his expression returned to normal. The 2 people who flew out from the depths were none other than 100 Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy. 100 Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy landed beside Lin Feng. 100 Flower Fairy said, I did not expect Lin Gongzi to pass through the trial so quickly. Lin Gongzi's methods are really amazing. This little girl admires him greatly. In fact, 100 Flower Fairy was also very puzzled. She knew how dangerous the trial was, and did not know how Lin Feng passed through it. Logically speaking, Lin Feng should not have been able to successfully pass through the trial, but thinking about how Lin Feng was indeed different from others, and how he had many extraordinary methods, Lin Feng finally passed through the trial. It did not seem to be too difficult to understand. Lin Feng said, This journey was really hard to explain, but fortunately, I successfully passed through the trial. After Lin Feng's voice fell, a few more cultivators passed through the distorted space and entered the depths of this space. The greatest danger of the trial was the terrifying existence Lin Feng released. Because it was released by Lin Feng, it did not target other cultivators, so the danger of the trial was naturally eliminated, and then the cultivators who did not encounter a calamity successfully passed through the trial. In fact, a few of them were a little puzzled. Didn't they say that the trial was very difficult to pass? Why did they not encounter any special difficulties along the way? Could it be that because his methods were too powerful, he was able to pass the trial so easily? Thinking of this, some people could not help but feel complacent, if they knew the whole story. At that time, who knows what kind of mood they would have? Including Lin Feng, there were a total of 6 people who passed through the trial. Among them was a female cultivator. This female cultivator looked a little similar to the female cultivator who died before. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a little moved. Could it be that this female cultivator and the female cultivator who died were related by blood? Otherwise, why do the 2 of them look so similar? Maybe they are a pair of beautiful sisters. It was a pity that one of them had already died tragically on the road of trials. Congratulations to everyone for passing through the trial. 100 Flower Fairy said with a smile after seeing these cultivators. Several cultivators politely exchanged a few words with 100 Flower Fairy, then the female cultivator asked, Has anyone seen this concubine's younger sister? Obviously, these people should know this female cultivator. Even if they did not know her, they had seen the 2 sisters before, and the 2 of them looked so similar, they could probably guess their specific identity. So when this female cultivator asked if they had seen her younger sister, they all thought of another female cultivator. That female cultivator was definitely a beautiful young married woman, a pair of beautiful sisters. If they could have a romantic relationship with this pair of beautiful sisters, it would definitely be unforgettable for the rest of their lives, right? Everyone else shook their heads. They had not seen her younger sister before. Said Lin Feng. I've seen her, but she died on the path of the exam. Said Lin Feng. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the beautiful woman suddenly showed an extremely sad expression. Then she asked about some of the things that happened at that time. Lin Feng told the beautiful woman everything that happened at that time. In fact, the beautiful woman had seen the tragic deaths of several cultivators before, but at that time she hid and did not come out. The way they died was very similar to how Lin Feng described her younger sister's death. The beautiful woman sighed, her expression sorrowful. But the world of cultivators was this cruel, accompanied by the danger of death at every moment. Since she had embarked on this path, there was no turning back, so after being sad for a while, her mood had calmed down a lot. 100 Flower Fairy asked. Everyone, what do you want? A cultivator said. I heard that the White Immortal Valley has endless mysterious techniques and many immortal scriptures. I want to obtain a top-notch inheritance. A second cultivator said. I heard that the White Immortal Valley has top-notch magic treasures passed down from the previous era. I want to obtain a top-notch magic treasure. A female cultivator said. I heard that the White Immortal Valley has a rainbow-colored immortal robe, an extremely powerful defensive immortal robe. I want to obtain one of those robes. A fourth cultivator said. I want to obtain a true immortal pill, then use that pill to break through to the true immortal realm. A fifth cultivator said. I heard that the master of the White Immortal Valley has the Nirvana technique. I want to obtain the cultivation method of the Nirvana technique. End of chapter. Chapter 5636. The thing Lin Gongzi wants is the star route map that Lin Gongzi mentioned before, right? 100 Flower Fairy looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng nodded and said, That's right, what I want is that star route map. Can Fairy help me get it? Lin Feng's face was full of smiles. In fact, Lin Feng knew that there was something fishy going on, but he still didn't know who 100 Flower Fairy was. If he fell out with 100 Flower Fairy now, and if she still had some tricks up her sleeve, 100 Flower Fairy might be able to escape. That was why Lin Feng didn't expose 100 Flower Fairy directly. He planned to play with 100 Flower Fairy slowly. Obviously, 100 Flower Fairy didn't know that Lin Feng already knew a lot of things, and thought that everything was still within her calculations. I'm not sure if Sir can get the star route map, because I need to ask the master of White Immortal Valley first. 100 Flower Fairy said. So that's how it is. Then I'll wait for your news. Lin Feng said. You're welcome, sir. 100 Flower Fairy said. After a pause, she continued. I'll take you to rest first. Thank you, Fairy. Everyone thanked 100 Flower Fairy. Then, 100 Flower Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy led Lin Feng and the others to rest. When they passed by a mountain range, they saw many tombs, but there were no names on the tombs, so no one knew who was buried under the tombs. A cultivator asked curiously, Fairy, can I ask a question? 100 Flower Fairy smiled and said, Of course. Then, the cultivator asked, Who are the people buried in the tombs? Hearing this question, 100 Flower Fairy sighed and said, I'm sure everyone has heard that the master of White Immortal Valley would take in a disciple every once in a while. The people buried under the tombs were the disciples of the master of White Immortal Valley. Perhaps because she was too sad, she didn't write down the names of her disciples. So that's how it is. Everyone nodded. 100 Flower Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy led Lin Feng and the others to a courtyard, then arranged for Lin Feng and the others to rest in the courtyard for Lin Feng and the others. Then, 100 Flower Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy left, and went to another place shrouded in white fog. There was a very powerful restriction there, and if they didn't bring the others in, they wouldn't be able to enter. The place was very powerful. The restriction here was extremely terrifying. It was unknown whether it was a natural restriction or a restriction set up by someone. Lin Feng felt that this place had many natural restrictions to begin with. Later, powerful cultivators added some new restrictions on top of the natural restrictions. After the natural restrictions and the new restrictions merged into one, the two restrictions became one. Once the restrictions had completed their transformation, the power of the restrictions had increased substantially. This was the reason why the stone scripture couldn't break through the restrictions. Of course, Lin Feng might have guessed wrong. After all, the restrictions were too ancient, and there were many things that couldn't be investigated. At night, Lin Feng suddenly heard a knock on his door. Lin Feng went to the door and opened it. Then, he saw the beautiful woman standing outside. Lin Feng asked curiously, Fairy, it's already so late. Why aren't you resting? I have some questions about my younger sister that I would like to ask you. Is it convenient for me to enter now? As the saying goes, a straight foot is not afraid of a crooked shadow. Since the woman didn't mind, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't mind. Fairy, please come in. After the woman entered the room, Lin Feng closed the door and invited the woman to sit. Lin Feng then invited the woman to take a seat. I'll pour you a cup of tea, Lin Feng said. The woman replied, Thank you, young master. Lin Feng poured a cup of tea for the woman, but she didn't drink it. The woman revealed a sorrowful expression and asked, Young master, did my sister leave behind any special words before she died? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Could it be that the woman had some secrets that he wanted to pass on to this woman? However, it was true that her sister didn't say anything. Everything had happened too suddenly, and even if she wanted to say something, it was too late. Thus, the woman didn't say anything before she died. Lin Feng said, Her death was very sudden, so she didn't say anything. The woman's face was covered in tears, and she looked very sad. The death of a loved one was indeed a very sad thing. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh, not knowing how to console the woman. This kind of thing wasn't easy. After all, anyone who encountered something like this would feel extremely sad. Lin Feng stretched out his hand, wanting to pat the woman's shoulder and comfort her. However, he pulled his hand back in the end. The woman threw herself into Lin Feng's embrace and hugged Lin Feng with both hands. Her beautiful face pressed against Lin Feng's chest as she sobbed. She said, I just want to find a hug to lean on. I hope young master doesn't mind. Lin Feng nodded. The woman continued to cry as she said, My sister and I have relied on each other for survival since we were young. Who would have thought that we would be separated forever? From now on, I will be alone, and I no longer have any relatives. Lin Feng said, Please restrain your grief. The woman didn't say anything else, and she continued to cry. Suddenly, after crying for a while, a fierce look appeared in her eyes. She hugged Lin Feng's right hand and viciously pressed down on Lin Feng's spine. However, at that moment, Lin Feng suddenly pushed the woman away. Thus, the woman's sneak attack failed. Lin Feng sneered, What are you doing? I have no enmity with you, so why did you sneak attack me? The beautiful woman said coldly, It was you. You must have killed my little sister. You must have seen how pretty my little sister was and had some improper thoughts about her, so you killed her. I'll kill you to take revenge for my little sister. After saying that, the woman formed a restriction and sealed the room. Then, she quickly attacked Lin Feng. She sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Fuck, she's a crazy woman. Lin Feng couldn't help but curse when he saw the woman attacking him. Chapter 56-37. It was no wonder that Lin Feng would be so depressed. This woman was simply too crazy. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with Lin Feng. He had told her about her sister out of kindness. However, he had not expected this woman to suspect that he was the one who had done something to her sister. She was definitely a persecuted paranoia patient. Wasn't this way of thinking a little too weird? How could he face this woman's attack? Lin Feng waved his robes, and a powerful force surged out, sending the woman flying. Even though her cultivation was relatively strong, compared to Lin Feng, there was still a huge gap. Lin Feng said coldly, I won't lower myself to your level on account of your sister's death. Don't be unreasonable. If you continue to be unreasonable, yours truly will make you pay a heavy price today. The woman said, You've finally revealed your true colors. Even if I have to risk my life, I'll kill you to avenge my sister. As soon as she finished speaking, said the woman, summoning many poisonous insects. Those poisonous insects flew towards Lin Feng. Those poisonous insects were extremely poisonous. If Lin Feng was surrounded by them, he would be in great danger. Lin Feng looked at the woman coldly. He cursed again. What a crazy woman! He then waved his hand. The heavenly flame immediately flew out and burned fiercely. When those poisonous insects flew over, They were all burned to ashes by the heavenly flame. Lin Feng's body flashed, and he appeared in front of the woman in an instant. He then tapped her lightly, and her body froze. She could not move at all. "Since I can't kill you, you can kill me," the woman said coldly. "Do you think I'll let you off so easily?" Lin Feng pinched her snow-white chin gently. The woman looked at Lin Feng with a look of fear. Seeing that, Lin Feng was secretly delighted. Lin Feng wanted to scare this crazy woman. This crazy woman! She probably thought that he would do something heartless to her, right? Seeing the woman's look of fear, Lin Feng felt extremely satisfied. "What are you doing? You can't touch me. I'd rather die than let you ruin my body," the woman said in fear. "Ha ha!" Lin Feng laughed out loud. He did not continue to tease her. Instead, he lay on his bed and turned off the lights. The night passed quickly. When Lin Feng woke up the next day, he found the woman glaring at him. Since Lin Feng had restrained her body, she could not move. She stood there for the whole night, and listened to Lin Feng's breathing for the whole night. This made her very depressed. A delicate beauty like her had stood there for the whole night, while Lin Feng slept comfortably. Now, she wanted nothing more than to strangle Lin Feng to death. Lin Feng looked at her and said, "Although there is a saying that a woman with big breasts is brainless, you don't look like that kind of woman. Why do you think I'm the one who did this to your sister?" The woman said, "Because my sister has an extremely rare Tao integration physique. Once a cultivator achieves Tao integration with my sister, their cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. You've met my sister before, so it's very normal for you to attack her." Lin Feng was slightly taken aback. The beautiful woman's words actually made some sense. Once a top-grade cultivation vessel like her was encountered by someone, especially when she was alone, it was very easy for others to attack her. This kind of thing was very common in the world of cultivators. Lin Feng was the last man to come in contact with her sister, so it was not strange for her to suspect Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng's thoughts were all focused on finding that terrifying existence in the dark. He did not observe what kind of physique his sister had. Lin Feng said, "I didn't know that your sister had a Tao integration physique because we didn't even talk much before she died. Everything I said is true. Whether you believe it or not, that's all I have to say." The beautiful woman replied, "I believe you," said Lin Feng while looking at the beautiful woman. He was astonished. The woman said, "Because I stood here all night, and you didn't do anything to me. This proves that you're a gentleman." Lin Feng smiled bitterly. This woman's way of thinking was indeed a bit strange. Lin Feng released her restriction and said, "You can leave now." The woman nodded and opened the door to Lin Feng's room and walked outside. When the beautiful woman came out, two cultivators were whispering to each other in the courtyard outside. Seeing the woman come out of Lin Feng's room early in the morning, the two cultivators revealed an extremely ambiguous look. Obviously, the two cultivators thought that Lin Feng and the woman must have spent the night together. At this time, Lin Feng walked out of his room. The two cultivators looked at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy. In the afternoon, 100 Flower Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy came to Lin Feng's place. 100 Flower Fairy smiled and asked, "Did everyone rest well?" "We rested quite well," everyone replied. Only the woman didn't say anything. Instead, she glared fiercely at Lin Feng. Obviously, she was very angry that Lin Feng didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex last night. Flower Fairy then said, "I have already reported to the Master of White Immortal Valley about the things that everyone wants. However, I do not dare to guarantee that you will be able to obtain them because the Master of White Immortal Valley intends to conduct a face-to-face test on you. When the time comes, they'll probably ask you some questions. I don't know what they'll ask, but if the Master of White Immortal Valley is satisfied with your answers, they'll probably satisfy your conditions. Now come with me," said the Master of White Immortal Valley. After hearing 100 Flower Fairy's words, everyone quickly nodded. However, they couldn't help but feel nervous. What kind of questions would the Master of White Immortal Valley ask? Among these people, Only Lin Feng sneered because Lin Feng knew that the master of White Immortal Valley had most likely fallen. Even if he didn't fall, he must have fallen into a deep sleep. Therefore, how could the master of White Immortal Valley ask them some questions face to face? Chapter 56:38. Lin Feng guessed that 100-Flower Fairy had already made her move, and this time, she was only here to find an excuse to trick everyone. Lin Feng's heart was as clear as a mirror, but he didn't say anything and continued to cooperate with 100-Flower Fairy. Under the lead of 100-Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy, they arrived at the area shrouded in white fog. Then, Lin Feng's group of 6 followed 100-Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy into the area shrouded in white fog. Soon, they reached the depths of the white fog. At this time, 100-Flower Fairy and Phoenix Fairy suddenly sped up and rushed forward, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Chase them! The others felt that something was wrong and quickly chased after them. However, Bai Hua Fairy and Feng Xian Fairy had already disappeared. As for them, they were trapped here. Many terrifying restrictions appeared around them. These restrictions completely sealed off the area. It had become impossible to get out of here. Therefore, the group of people's expressions were extremely ugly. A cultivator said with a gloomy expression, 100-Flower Fairy, what do you mean by this? Why are we trapped here? 100-Flower Fairy said, if you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for being greedy and being easily tricked by me. This time, to awaken the master of White Immortal Valley who has been sleeping for a long time, we need the blood of many powerful cultivators as a sacrifice, and you people are the last batch of sacrifices. After hearing 100-Flower Fairy's words, everyone's expression suddenly changed. It was obvious that they had been tricked by 100-Flower Fairy. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. It seemed that 100-Flower Fairy didn't only want to trick him, but also these people. This was something that Lin Feng didn't expect before. And from 100-Flower Fairy's words he could confirm that the master of White Immortal Valley was asleep and not dead. However, it required a sacrifice to awaken the master of White Immortal Valley. This method was extremely evil and vicious. 100-Flower Fairy, you dared to trick us like this, you will die a horrible death. 100-Flower Fairy, we will not rest until you die. Fairy of 100 flowers, you bitch, I'll kill you. Fairy of 100 flowers, I will tear you to pieces. 100 flowers Fairy, your fate will be 10 times worse than mine. The cultivators cursed loudly. They knew that they were tricked by 100-Flower Fairy. Naturally, they were furious and wanted nothing more than to tear 100-Flower Fairy into 1,000 pieces and cut her into 1,000 pieces. Flower Fairy said, right now, I only need 4 spots to gather enough offerings, so 2 of you won't have to die. Also, let me tell you, this Lin Feng will definitely die. He has great enmity with me, so I will definitely kill him. You can be the first to kill him, and after you kill him, there will be 1 less spot to compete with you. In that case, if 3 of you die, the remaining 2 will be able to survive, said Lin Feng. Hearing 100-Flower Fairy's words, their expressions darkened. They looked at Lin Feng with a cold glint in their eyes, which made their hair stand on end. Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. Although their cultivations were not bad, in Lin Feng's eyes they were just a bunch of mobs. 100-Flower Fairy wanted to use these people to deal with him. It was simply a fool's dream. Lin Feng looked at 100-Flower Fairy and said, I have no enmity with you, and we have never met before. Why would you scheme against me? 100-Flower Fairy said coldly. 100-Flower Fairy is just a title, it's not my real name. Do you know what my real name is? I really don't know. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and asked, what's your real name? 100-Flower Fairy said, my real name is Huangfu Xiener. When Lin Feng heard the name of the celestial lady of 100 flowers, he was astonished. He had been thinking for a long time, but he hadn't thought that the celestial lady of 100 flowers was Huangfu Xiener. Lin Feng was astonished. Previously, Lin Feng had learned from N0 that Huangfu Xiener had disappeared without a trace. No one knew where she had gone. Later, due to the great battle in the Undying Realm, Huang Fuxian's Ascension immortal sect was destroyed. Huang Fuxianer was even less likely to appear. Therefore, Huang Fuxianer had completely disappeared. It turned out that this woman had been hiding in the dark and had been keeping track of his whereabouts. Then, she planned step by step to scheme against him. If it was someone else, perhaps they would have already been killed by Huang Fuxianer's scheme. However, Huang Fuxianer might not have thought that his means would be so powerful. Lin Feng said coldly. So you're here to avenge Huang Fuqian? That's right. You killed Tianer, so I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces. I'll send your soul to the 18th layer of hell so that you'll never be reincarnated. Huang Fuxianer glared at Lin Feng hatefully. Lin Feng said, I heard that Huang Fuqian was the child of your heaven-man connection. Why don't you tell us what happened back then? I'm very interested in this heaven-man connection. Huang Fuxianer was slightly stunned when she heard Lin Feng's words. She had expected Lin Feng to react in all kinds of ways, but she didn't expect Lin Feng to ask her about the heaven-man connection. Naturally, it was difficult to talk about it. Huang Fuxianer couldn't help but blush. Then anger appeared on her face. She said coldly, You're about to die, yet you're still spouting such filthy words. You're simply courting death. Huang Fuxianer then looked at the other 5 and said, What are the 5 of you waiting for? Hurry up and kill Lin Feng. The 5 of them looked at each other and surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. If these people wanted to court death, he didn't mind sending them to hell. Chapter 5639. Lin Feng was now a decisive killer. Who knew how many people he had killed over the years? Adding a few more lives to his list was naturally not a big deal. Just as the 2 sides were about to attack. Suddenly, the beautiful woman ambushed a cultivator next to her. With a wave of her sleeve, a green bamboo leaf snake flew out. The green bamboo leaf snake opened its mouth and bit the cultivator's neck. The poison entered the cultivator's body from the wound, and the cultivator immediately died from the poison. The green bamboo snake's poison was simply too horrifying. Even such a powerful cultivator would find it hard to endure. It was a hair-raising experience. Seeing the beautiful woman kill off one of the cultivators with a sneak attack, the faces of the other 3 cultivators turned extremely ugly to behold. They pulled away from the beautiful woman and coldly looked at her. One of the cultivators coldly said, What are you doing? The beautiful woman came to Lin Feng's side and said, Can't you see what I'm doing? I'm with him. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman with interest. It seemed that she had made the right choice. The other 3 cultivators' expressions became even uglier. One of the cultivators said, I already knew that you had an affair with this brat, but what kind of man can't you find? If you want to find a man, you can find one 10 times better than this brat. There's no need to fight to the death with us because of this brat. Besides, this brat is dead for sure, because Flower Fairy won't let him go. That's why you have to think twice before you act. Don't do anything that will make you regret it. The beautiful woman coldly said, What's the point of talking so much nonsense? Let's see who's the real deal. Seeing that the beautiful woman was determined to join forces with Lin Feng to deal with the 3 of them, the other 3 cultivators' eyes suddenly burst out with killing intent. At this time, Flower Fairy said mockingly, Lin Feng, I knew you were a romantic person, but I didn't expect you to hook up with this girl after knowing her for such a short time. I'm very puzzled. How could someone like you have such great achievements in cultivation? In fact, the beautiful woman's words were not without reason. This was because many male cultivators who were lustful towards women would gradually lose interest in cultivation after indulging themselves in women's charms. The saying that a woman's home was a hero's grave was very reasonable. However, Lin Feng liked women. However, Lin Feng did not indulge in women's charms. This was the biggest difference between Lin Feng and other people. Because Lin Feng knew what his life goal was. He also knew what his responsibility was. So what if he had more women? As long as one's Dao heart remained unchanged, one's cultivation speed would naturally increase. Lin Feng said, Huang Fuxianer, this young master's ability is not something you can guess. After pausing for a moment, Lin Feng revealed a brilliant smile and said, I'm very interested in taking you as my slave. I plan to take you as my slave. If you know what's good for you, take the initiative to acknowledge me as your master. When the time comes, I might be gentler to you. If you don't know what's good for you, just wait and see how I'll deal with you when the time comes. When she heard Lin Feng's words, Huang Fuxian's pretty face turned ashen, and her gaze turned cold. Fairy Phoenix Fairy said coldly, It's hard to imagine how someone like you could do so many shocking things. Lin Feng looked at Fairy Phoenix Fairy and said, Sometimes you can't judge a person by their appearance. I have many good points. After I take you as my slave, you'll know what my good points are. Take me as your slave? In your next life. Fairy Phoenix Fairy sneered, then looked at Huang Fuxian and said, Sister, hurry up and urge them to kill Lin Feng. Huang Fuxian looked at the other 3 cultivators and said, What are you waiting for? The 3 cultivators looked at each other, then pounced at Lin Feng and the beautiful woman. Lin Feng's face was full of a sneer. He raised his right hand and lightly waved it in the air, sending out a ray of sword chi. The sword chi quickly slashed at the 3 cultivators. The 3 cultivators wanted to dodge, but they weren't able to. With a ripping sound, the 3 cultivators' heads were lopped off by Lin Feng's sword energy. Amazing, amazing. Really amazing. Huang Fuxian sighed. Lin Feng said, You clearly know that these people can't pose any threat to me, so why did you let them attack me? Huang Fuxian said, Because I find them very annoying, and if I kill them myself, it would dirty my hands, so I'll borrow your hands to kill them. Lin Feng said, I have to say that you're really a vicious and merciless woman. Huang Fuxian said, Then I should thank you for your praise. Following which, Huang Fuxian struck out a series of mysterious hand seals that fused into the surrounding restrictions. Next, those seals shook and released extremely terrifying fluctuations. One seal after another was activated. The seals in this place were extremely terrifying. Lin Feng was very clear about this. When Lin Feng felt the terrifying fluctuations from the restrictions, his expression changed slightly. Lin Feng felt that the restrictions here were much more terrifying than the ones outside. Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless and summoned the stone scripture. Lin Feng activated the stone scripture. Rays of holy light surged out from the stone scripture. The holy light wrapped around Lin Feng and the beautiful woman, forming a defensive barrier. When the densely packed attacks arrived, they were all blocked by the defensive light shield. Huang Fuxian sneered. Lin Feng, I know that you have many tricks up your sleeves, and you even have the stone scripture of the heavenly masters. But it's useless because the master of the White Immortal Valley has spent her entire life researching ways to break the inheritance of the heavenly masters. The restriction formations created by the master of the White Immortal Valley can restrain the restriction formations of the heavenly masters. Lin Feng was astonished by Huang Fuxian's words. He asked, Could it be that the master of the White Immortal Valley has some deep enmity with the ancestors of the heavenly masters? Otherwise, why would she research ways to deal with the heavenly masters? Huang Fuxian sneered. If you want to know, go to hell and ask King Yama. As soon as she finished speaking, Huang Fuxian continued to activate the restrictions here, and the power of the restrictions suddenly increased by more than 10 times. An even more terrifying attack blasted towards Lin Feng. Chapter 5640. After Huang Fuxian increased the power of the seals, Lin Feng naturally became more cautious. After all, the seals here were indeed very powerful. Lin Feng continued to activate the stone scripture, and the power of the scripture increased as well. When the attacks from the seals once again bombarded the defensive light barrier, a series of banging sounds came from the defensive light barrier, and the defensive light barrier shook violently. It seemed that the attacks from the seals could indeed cause a huge impact on the defensive light barrier formed by the stone scripture. If this continued, it would be extremely disadvantageous for Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng was also aware of this. In fact, Huangfu Xian'er and Fairy Feng Xian didn't pose much of a threat to Lin Feng. The main reason was that the seals here posed a greater threat to Lin Feng. Just as Huangfu Xian'er had said before, the master of White Immortal Valley had spent his entire life researching methods to restrain the seals of the Heavenly Master lineage, and the results were extremely significant. The stone scripture was a top-grade treasure passed down by the Heavenly Master lineage, and many of the techniques of the Heavenly Master lineage required the help of the stone scripture. As a result, all kinds of techniques would be easily suppressed by the seals. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. If this continued, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. Therefore, he had to find a way to resolve the crisis before him. Lin Feng took out 5 ancient weapon-grade magic treasures, and the 5 magic treasures flew out rapidly, shaking with world-destroying fluctuations. The 5 magic treasures bombarded the seals around them, and along with the sounds of violent collisions, cracks appeared on many of the seals. Ancient weapon-grade magic treasures were indeed powerful, and the power they displayed was truly terrifying. Lin Feng's face revealed a trace of a smile. It seemed that using ancient weapon-grade magic treasures could really break the seals here. The main reason was that the seals had already weakened greatly compared to their peak state, and could no longer reach their peak state. If they were still at their peak state, it would obviously be more difficult to break these seals. When Fairy Feng Xian saw the seals start to crack, her expression changed abruptly. She looked to Huangfu Xian'er and asked, "Big sister, what do we do now?" Huangfu Xian'er replied, "Don't worry, this situation is within my expectations." Huangfu Xian'er took out a command token. It was a white jade command token. There seemed to be many mysterious patterns on the white jade command token, but what was so special about those patterns? Lin Feng didn't know either. Lin Feng hadn't seen this kind of white jade token before, so he didn't know what was so special about it. However, Lin Feng felt that the white jade token was very likely related to the White Immortal Valley. After the white jade token was activated, a wave of destructive energy surged out from the white jade token. The white jade token suddenly shone with a dazzling light that flew in all directions of the White Immortal Valley. Then, the light merged with the White Immortal Valley. When the light completely merged with the White Immortal Valley, all the seals in the White Immortal Valley were awakened. The White Immortal Valley even shook violently, as if an earthquake had occurred. The beautiful woman's expression changed, and she asked, "What's going on?" Lin Feng said, "She should have used the power of all the seals here, and even the energy that the White Immortal Valley has stored for countless years. She wants to use it to kill us." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the beautiful woman's face paled. The White Immortal Valley was too terrifying. With so many terrifying powers, it was too difficult to resist. At that moment, all kinds of attacks came at them, and Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapons were sent flying. Huangfu Xian'er said coldly, "The energy that the White Immortal Valley has stored for countless years is absolutely unimaginable. After adding the power of all the seals here, even I don't know how powerful the attack will be. This is also the first time I've used such a powerful attack. Lin Feng, even if you have extraordinary abilities, you won't be able to escape today." It seemed that Huangfu Xian'er was very confident in her methods. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Huangfu Xian'er, I know that you're very strong, but there's one thing you didn't think of." "What is it?" Huangfu Xian'er asked doubtfully. "You underestimate my ability. After killing the Heavenly Emperor, my cultivation increased greatly, and I even fused with the undying world. Now that I've completed my transformation, the power I have is not something you can imagine." After saying that, Lin Feng started chanting the incantation for the Great Fate technique. After Lin Feng broke through to the Golden Immortal Realm, the power of the Great Fate technique was even more terrifying. When the incantation of the Great Fate art fell, a powerful fate force descended from the sky and fused with many restrictions. At the same time, Lin Feng continued to use the stone scripture and the Great Fate technique to deal with the seals here. Those seals were completely suppressed by the Great Fate technique and the stone scripture. They could no longer pose any threat to Lin Feng. Now, The only thing Lin Feng had to face was the boundless and powerful energy of the White Immortal Valley. Lin Feng took out his ruler's armor and phoenix shield. He held the phoenix shield and wore the ruler's armor. When the terrifying energy attacks came, they were all blocked by Lin Feng's ruler's armor and phoenix shield. The combined power of these two magic treasures was really terrifying. Lin Feng quickly moved towards Fairy Fengxian and Fairy Baihua. He wanted to oppress them. Then he would turn them into his slaves. 100 Flower Fairy's expression became unsightly. She hurriedly waved the white jade token in her hand. A white light surged out and enveloped Fairy Phoenix Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy. Following which, Fairy Phoenix Fairy and Fairy Phoenix Fairy disappeared without a trace. Where did they run off to? Lin Feng's expression became unsightly. At this time, a distorted darkness appeared behind Lin Feng. The terrifying existence in the darkness appeared, and his deep voice came out. I know where these two women ran off to. They must have run to the place where that bitch is sleeping. Follow me, I'll take you to find them. That terrifying cultivator was leading the way. Lin Feng and the beautiful woman were following closely behind him. They were moving at full speed. Chapter 56-41. Under the guidance of this terrifying existence, Lin Feng and the beautiful woman quickly arrived at the deepest part of the formation. There was a huge innate 8 trigrams formation there. This innate 8 trigrams formation was very complicated. Lin Feng carefully studied it, and found that this heavenly 8 trigrams formation was formed by 8 small innate 8 trigrams. These 8 small innate 8 trigrams formations formed a very mysterious connection with each other. Therefore, it was very difficult to pass through. The terrifying existence said, This innate 8 trigrams formation is blocking the way, so we can't pass through. Perhaps you can use your stone scripture to try and see if it can resolve the 8 trigrams formation here. Lin Feng could not help but nod. He summoned the stone scripture and tried to use it to break through the 8 trigrams formation here. However, Lin Feng found that the stone scripture was unable to do so. It had to be said that the master of the White Immortal Valley was truly a genius to be able to research such a powerful 8 trigrams formation. Lin Feng became more and more curious. He did not know what kind of enmity this person had with the ancestor of the Celestial Master bloodline to make her hate the Celestial Master bloodline so much. In the next few days, Lin Feng had been studying the 8 trigrams formation here. Although it was very complicated, Lin Feng's attainments and formations were still very high. With the help of the stone scripture, although Lin Feng did not find a way to break through the 8 trigrams formation here, he found a way to pass through the 8 trigrams formation here. However, passing through the 8 trigrams formation here was obviously very dangerous. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman and said, Wait outside. The beautiful woman also knew that passing through the 8 trigrams formation here was too dangerous. Therefore, she did not insist on entering with Lin Feng. The beautiful woman said, Be careful. Lin Feng nodded and then brought this fellow into the 8 trigrams formation. All kinds of attacks bombarded Lin Feng and this terrifying existence. Lin Feng brought this terrifying existence and quickly shuttled through the 8 trigrams formation. Some of the attacks were dodged by them. Lin Feng used the stone scripture to block the attacks that he could not dodge. As a result, he was able to pass through the extremely complicated 8 trigrams formation without any danger. After passing through the 8 trigrams formation, Lin Feng and this terrifying existence heaved a sigh of relief. Earlier, when they were inside the 8 trigrams formation, they were truly on tenterhooks because the formation was too powerful. A moment of carelessness would have resulted in death. Fortunately, the result was not bad. What appeared before them was a huge valley. The two of them walked into the valley. There was a cave in the depths of the valley. After seeing the cave, the terrifying being said, That cave used to be the place where the master of the White Immortal Valley cultivated. It's the core of this place. If you go in, you should be able to find the master of the White Immortal Valley and the two women. Lin Feng nodded and walked into the cave with this terrifying existence. When they arrived at the cave, they saw that there was a crystal coffin inside the cave. A woman was lying inside the crystal coffin. The woman's clothes were as white as snow, and she looked quite beautiful. She was in her 30s. In front of the crystal coffin was a small altar, and Fairy Feng Xian was standing next to it, looking at it. Huang Fuxian was conducting a sacrificial ceremony. It seemed that Huang Fuxian wanted to use the sacrificial ceremony to awaken the master of the White Immortal Valley. Lin Feng naturally would have let Huang Fuxian do as she wished. Therefore, Lin Feng quickly rushed towards Huang Fuxian. Huang Fuxian's expression suddenly changed. She didn't expect Lin Feng to arrive at this place so quickly. Huang Fuxian quickly took out the white jade token. The white jade token quickly grew in size. Then, it formed a huge barrier, separating her from Lin Feng. Lin Feng took out the Panga Heaven-Splitting Axe. He held the Heaven-Splitting Axe in his hand and attacked the enlarged white jade token. Dozens of attacks bombarded the white jade token. The enlarged white jade token was blasted away. Huang Fuxian suffered a backlash and couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Lin Feng quickly flew towards Huang Fuxian. He wanted to seize this rare opportunity to suppress Huang Fuxian. But at this time, Fairy Feng Xian rushed towards Lin Feng, wanting to intercept Lin Feng. Lin Feng waved his sleeve and sent Fairy Feng Xian flying. Then, Lin Feng arrived beside Huang Fuxian and exchanged a palm with her. Huang Fuxian was immediately sent flying by Lin Feng. All the magic power in her body was scattered, and Huang Fuxian no longer had the strength to fight. Lin Feng coldly looked at Huang Fuxian and said, "Now that everything is over, obediently tell me the starry sky route to the buried god star field. This is your only choice." Huang Fuxian coldly said, "You want this starry sky route? That's simply a fool's dream. Even if I bring this starry sky route to hell, I will not tell you." As her voice fell, Huang Fuxian slapped her own forehead. This woman actually had an unyielding character. She knew that today, she would definitely be captured by Lin Feng. At that time, she would become Lin Feng's female slave. At that time, who knew what would happen? So, Huang Fuxian chose the most extreme method. Seeing that Huang Fuxian's palm was about to land on her forehead, Lin Feng flicked his finger. A powerful force imprisoned Huang Fuxian's body. Huang Fuxian immediately couldn't move. Huang Fuxian's face turned extremely pale. She wanted to commit suicide, but she couldn't. Huang Fuxian couldn't help but feel sad. She originally thought that this plan was perfect, and would definitely be able to kill Lin Feng. But she didn't expect that this seemingly perfect plan would actually have so many flaws. Lin Feng was completely fine, and instead, she had become Lin Feng's prisoner. Chapter 5642. Lin Feng looked coldly at Huang Fuxian and said, "You haven't even told me what I want to know, yet you want to die. Do you think that's possible? You're still very valuable to me. You can choose not to tell me, but I have 100 ways to make you talk on your own." Huang Fuxian's face was pale, but she kept her mouth shut. She only looked coldly at Lin Feng. Fairy Feng Xian said, "Lin Feng, no matter what, you're still a great hero that countless people admire. How can you bully two little women like us?" Lin Feng was speechless after hearing Fairy Feng Xian's words. He sneered at Fairy Feng Xian and said, "Why didn't you call yourself little women when you were scheming against me? Also, don't flatter me. I'm not a great hero. I'm just an ordinary person who wants to live on and protect my family, relatives, lovers, and friends. When you opposed me, you should have expected this to happen. That's why I won't be merciful to you." Fairy Feng Xian's face turned pale after hearing Lin Feng's words. Fairy Feng Xian's face turned extremely pale. She said, "My father is the planet lord of this planet. If you try to harm me and my father finds out, you won't have a good ending." Lin Feng sneered, "I can even kill the celestial emperor. Do you think I'll be afraid of your father? If your father dares to come looking for me, I'll send him to the 18th level of hell and make sure he'll never be reincarnated." Fairy Feng Xian said, You were able to kill the celestial sovereign because many of you joined hands to deal with him. As for my father, he is an expert that has existed since the immemorial era. How are you going to deal with him by yourself? Lin Feng smiled icily. Back then, we joined hands and killed Tian Di the Celestial Emperor. Now I'm completely different from back then. I'm much stronger than back then. If I fought against Tian Di the Celestial Emperor now, I'm convinced I could defeat him alone, said Lin Feng icily. Fairy Feng Xian couldn't help but sigh. She knew that the situation was hopeless, and there was no turning back now. She had become Lin Feng's prisoner. Before taking action, Fairy Feng Xian had thought that this might happen. However, when it really happened, she couldn't help but feel sad. However, she didn't regret attacking Lin Feng because Lin Feng was Huangfu Xian'er's enemy. Lin Feng was Huangfu Xian'er's enemy. That meant that he was her enemy. At that moment, Lin Feng suddenly sensed a terrifying aura behind him. Lin Feng turned around and saw that the woman lying in the crystal coffin was sitting up. She looked coldly at Lin Feng. She's awake! She's awake! The guy next to Lin Feng shouted in fear. Clearly, this terrifying existence still remembered many things that had happened in the past, especially the time when he was tortured by the woman. It was so painful that he wished he was dead. When he saw that the woman had woken up, he was extremely nervous. However, when he thought about how long she had been sleeping, her cultivation must have declined greatly. If he and Lin Feng worked together, they might not necessarily be her match. As for Huangfu Xian and Fairy Feng Xian, they were extremely excited when they saw that the woman had woken up. Perhaps they saw a chance to turn the tables. Of course, Lin Feng knew what the two women were thinking. He just sneered. Lin Feng looked at the woman in the crystal coffin. The woman was floating in the air. She looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, I really didn't expect that the successor of the Sage faction would appear here. The woman was extremely terrifying. She had spent her entire life researching ways to deal with the formations of the Sage faction, so it wasn't particularly surprising that she could recognize that he was from the Sage faction. Lin Feng said, Who are you? Why have you spent your entire life researching ways to deal with the formations of the Sage faction? The woman said coldly, I hate the Sage faction. I'll kill all of you. As soon as she finished speaking, she flew towards Lin Feng. Then, she sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. After sensing the terrifying power contained in the woman's attack, Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. This woman was extremely powerful, as expected of an expert who had existed countless years ago. Although she had gone through a long period of slumber, which had caused her strength to drop, her strength was still extremely terrifying. Lin Feng even suspected that she was someone from the era of the First Sage faction. In the early days of this epoch, there was a high chance that she had already existed in the world. Perhaps she was even a sentient life form. It was simply unimaginable how powerful someone like her would be. Fortunately, her current strength was far from her peak. Otherwise, she would be too terrifying. Facing the woman's attack, Lin Feng put on his ruler's armor and wielded the phoenix shield in his left hand. His right hand struck out with the 6 paths of reincarnation. Their attacks collided fiercely, and a terrifying shockwave surged out. Then, the two sides unexpectedly formed a very strange stalemate. An extremely powerful chi field appeared around the two of them. The void violently distorted because of the chi field formed by the two sides. Seeing Lin Feng resist the attack of the Master of the Valley of White Immortals, even Huangfu Xian showed an expression of disbelief. Because she had some relationship with the Valley of White Immortals, she knew the origin of the Master of the Valley of White Immortals. It was precisely because he had some understanding of her background that he knew how terrifying this woman was. Lin Feng was just a young cultivator. He hadn't even practiced cultivation for 200 years. Surprisingly, he was able to block such a terrifying attack. It was hard to imagine how strong Lin Feng was. Huangfu Xian finally understood why Lin Feng had defeated Huangfu Qin Tian. He was the first inheritor of Pangu's Dao, and he was an extraordinary cultivator. Guang Fuqingtian's defeat by Lin Feng seemed to have been predestined from the very beginning. Chapter 56-43. I didn't think that a young cultivator like you would appear in the Tianshi branch. You're not inferior to the earliest members of the Tianshi branch, said the woman. Lin Feng couldn't help but think that this woman was probably from the early days of the Tianshi era. Since she had spoken, it meant that things had taken a turn for the better. Lin Feng said, "What kind of hatred do you have against the Tianshi branch? I know that you won't tell me even if I ask you, but I can guess that this guy next to me is the result of the first ancestor of the Tianshi branch, Yu Shang's evil spirit. But you hate him so much." "What does that mean?" "It means that you hate him very much." "But why do you hate him so much?" "So much so that you tortured him for so many years instead of killing him. Obviously, the celestial master who has a grudge against you is the ancestor of the angel branch, Yu Shang. My guess is not without basis. Yu Shang was the creator of the Tianshi branch. He was unimaginably strong. Back then, the Dark Master of the universe and some other terrifying existences joined hands to deal with Yu Shang. That's enough to explain many things. As a woman, and a very beautiful woman at that, there are only two reasons why you hate Yu Shang so much. First, you and Yu Shang have a blood feud. However, I feel that this possibility is relatively small, because if it was really possible, you would have already killed this guy beside me a long time ago. Only then would you be able to resolve the hatred in your heart. You didn't kill him, which means that your hatred isn't as strong as a blood feud. If it's not the first reason, then it must be the second one. The second reason is that your hatred is born out of love." "Shut up," said the woman icily when she heard Lin Feng. Lin Feng's attitude made Lin Feng furious. Lin Feng was even more certain that the woman's hatred towards Yu Shang was because of the second reason. Lin Feng smiled and said, "It seems that my guess is correct. You really hate Yu Shang because of your love. Why would you hate him because of your love? Did Yu Shang do something wrong to you? For example, abandoning you after having sex with you? Or maybe you love Yu Shang, but Yu Shang doesn't have any feelings for you. He doesn't like you, so you hate him. Or is there some other reason?" After hearing Lin Feng's words, the woman's face turned extremely pale. For a long time, no one had dared to be so presumptuous in front of her. Even if some of her disciples had guessed the reason, no one had dared to talk about it in front of her. But today, Lin Feng had dared to expose it all in front of her. Of course, it made her extremely angry. She looked at Lin Feng with a murderous intent. She said coldly, "Tianshi's bloodline, I'll kill you today. Tianshi's bloodline." As soon as he finished speaking, the woman attacked Lin Feng again. This time, she condensed an endless amount of death energy in her hand. When he sensed the death energy in her hand, Lin Feng's face changed slightly. This kind of qi was really terrifying. It was much more terrifying than the attacks she had condensed before. It seemed that the woman hadn't used her full strength before. Now that Lin Feng was here, she began to use her full strength. However, Lin Feng wasn't afraid of her. Facing her attack, Lin Feng directly used his Tao of Supremacy. He used his Supreme Reincarnation Fist. Lin Feng used his Supreme Reincarnation Fist. Then, he fiercely collided with the woman again. The shockwaves released by their attacks were as if they were going to destroy the world. It was really terrifying. Just when the two sides were in a deadlock, the terrifying existence beside Lin Feng started to attack the woman. Suddenly, an endless amount of darkness enveloped the woman's body. The terrifying existence laughed loudly. "You've been enveloped by my dark energy. You're already a turtle in a jar. You're at my mercy. I'll send you into the endless world of darkness. I'll bury you in the world of darkness so that you'll never be reincarnated." At this moment, all the hatred in his heart exploded out. After all, he had been tortured for such a long time. Naturally, his hatred for this woman could not be washed away even with all the water in the 5 lakes and 4 seas. However, dreams were beautiful, but reality was extremely cruel. How could it be so easy to kill this woman? It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. A kind of golden energy surged out of the woman's body. That kind of golden energy was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be the nemesis of the dark energy. After that kind of golden energy collided with the dark energy was quickly destroyed. This is the power of transcendence that can only be born when you're infinitely close to the realm of transcendence. The terrifying existence cried out in fear. That's right, this is the power of transcendence. You're quite knowledgeable, the woman said coldly. Lin Feng's face suddenly revealed an extremely shocked expression. Although this woman didn't complete the transcendence, she was obviously infinitely close to the realm of transcendence when she was at her peak. She even gave birth to the power of transcendence. Lin Feng knew that once the power of transcendence was born in her body, she was only one step away from the realm of transcendence. This step could be taken anytime, anywhere. Then, she would become an existence that transcended the realm of transcendence. This level of expert was too terrifying. In this era, there weren't many experts of this level that were born. It's time to send you to the place where you should go, the woman said coldly. Said the woman coldly? The golden energy in her body was rapidly devouring the dark energy. The terrifying existence screamed in terror. Don't kill me, spare my life, I beg you, spare my life. But no matter how much he begged, the woman didn't intend to let him go. Lin Feng used the Great Destiny technique. The power of destiny descended from the sky. It directly poured into the dark energy. With the help of the power of destiny, the terrifying existence struggled to get rid of the golden energy, and finally escaped. End of chapter. Chapter 56-44. Although he had successfully escaped, he had lost a lot of energy, and his strength had decreased by a lot. On the other hand, the woman's cultivation had increased by quite a bit after devouring the terrifying existence's energy. This made Lin Feng's expression sink. This woman's methods were truly horrifying. Now that they were facing this woman, it was truly a troublesome matter. After all, this woman was simply too frightening. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. He was thinking about how to deal with this terrifying woman. Lin Feng said, I don't think there's a need to fight to the death between the two of us. After all, what happened between you and Yu Shang happened countless years ago. Yu Shang has been dead for so many years. Why do you still hate him so much? Why do you hate him so much? Do you know what happened back then? If you know what happened back then, and if you become me, you'll want to kill him even more than I do, the woman said coldly. Lin Feng said, I don't know what happened back then, but if you're willing to tell me, I don't mind hearing about what happened between you and Yu Shang. I think you need an audience. What do you think? The woman's expression was cold as she said, You're going to die anyway. There's no harm in telling you this before you die. After saying this, the woman fell silent. Lin Feng knew that she was thinking about something. Lin Feng didn't disturb her. Instead, he waited for her to carefully think about what to say. In fact, women were emotional creatures. No matter how powerful this woman was, she still couldn't shake off the fact that she was a woman. Lin Feng grasped this point and made the woman give up on the idea of fighting to the death with him. Then, she told him about what happened back then. This was a good start, even though she kept saying that she wanted to kill him. However, once this good start was made, she would slowly let go of the grudge in her heart. When the time came, she might be able to let go of this grudge. After about 15 minutes, the woman said, Back in the Kunlun universe. Wait a moment, Lin Feng said. The woman frowned and coldly stared at Lin Feng. What are you doing? Why did you interrupt me? Lin Feng said in surprise. You mean? You and Yu Shang are both from the Kunlun universe? The woman nodded and said, That's right. We are all from the Kunlun universe, not the Nine States universe. Previously, Lin Feng thought that Yu Shang was from the Nine Continents universe. However, Lin Feng thought about it. Back then, Yu Shang was the ruler of the wasteland. The wasteland was connected to the three supreme realms and the other world. The foreign worlds referred to the other three universes. Kunlun was the head of the four universes. Therefore, the Kunlun universe and the wasteland world were connected, said Lin Feng. You can continue now, said Lin Feng. The woman continued. Back then, I was the goddess of the Kunlun universe's top power, while Yushang was just an ordinary person. The two of us were able to walk together after breaking through many obstacles. Only then did we succeed. Later on, we had a cute child. Yushang's comprehension was very high. Back then, he was trying to create the celestial master path. Back then, the four universes were very turbulent. There were many dark things in the four universes. Yushang and his good friend Yi Xian had always wanted to bring peace to the four universes, but it wasn't easy. However, if Yushang could perfect the celestial master path, everything would change. This was also the reason why Yushang created the celestial master path. Later on, Yushang succeeded. The core orthodoxy of the celestial master path is very terrifying. Although you have the stone scripture now, I believe that you definitely haven't obtained the core orthodoxy of the celestial master path. Because the core orthodoxy of the celestial master path is sealed in the deepest part of the stone scripture, it is extremely difficult to obtain the core inheritance of the heavenly Tao. However, the core orthodoxy of the celestial master path is said to be able to change the structure of the four universes. However, this matter touched upon the interests of those terrifying existences. They felt threatened and wanted to destroy this matter. Thus, those people targeted us, mother and son. That battle resulted in my son's tragic death at the hands of the enemy. I don't understand what righteousness is. I also don't understand if what they did was worth it or not. I only know that my son is dead and all of this is Yushang's fault. From then on, we became enemies. After hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. This was truly a sad story. After all, her son had died in that battle. For a mother, this was indeed a very painful thing. It was also something that was hard to accept. There was nothing more painful than the pain of losing a child. Lin Feng could understand that woman's feelings. She hated Yushang so much that the husband and wife had turned into enemies. He couldn't help but feel regretful. Lin Feng said, So in the long years that followed, you hated our celestial master path so much. You even spent a long time researching formations and restrictions to deal with the celestial master path. Did you want to attack Yushang? I want to give him a blow. I want to prove that I'm better than him in this aspect. He should put more of his love on his wife and children, and not spend his time on other things. Saving the universe? Who would say that he's good? Lin Feng said. I agree with you. The first thing I want to do is to survive and protect my family, loved ones, and friends. If I have the ability, I don't mind doing things to save the world and the epic. If the world is destroyed, the epic is destroyed. Everyone will die. Maybe I will die, but so will my family, loved ones, and friends. So sometimes, some things need to be done by people. Maybe that was what Yushang was thinking back then, but Yushang did not expect those evil people to be so heartless. After all, the four universes agreed to not harm one's family. But those evil people violated those rules. It made people want to cut them into 1,000 pieces and cut them into 1,000 pieces. Chapter 5645. Perhaps it was Lin Feng's words that resonated with this woman. Therefore, the coldness in the woman's eyes lessened a lot. In fact, if one really wanted to talk about it, the hatred towards Yushang was because of the death of his child. But deep in his heart he still loved Zhang. After all, after being in love for so many years, how could he let go of the love in his heart so easily? Even after countless years had passed, this kind of love was still unforgettable. Many times, the woman was still thinking about what she had experienced with Yushang back then, but now, she would never be able to see Yushang again. Because Yushang had already died, she was unable to see him for the last time. When she found out that Yushang had died, she was very sad. At that time, Yushang's good friend Yixian told her that Yushang would return. She knew how powerful Yixian was. She believed Yixian's words. However, when would Yushang return from his tribulation? Yixian wasn't sure either. This was something that no one knew. Those who returned from the tribulation might never be able to awaken those memories. If he couldn't even remember the memories from back then, would he still be Yushang? For a very long time, she had been slowly waiting for the right moment. She hoped that one day, she would be able to see Yushang appear by her side again. However, she waited for a long time, but Yushang did not appear again. Later on, she saw the demon spirit that had fused with a trace of Yushang's demonic will. For some reason, he really wanted to torture that demon spirit. Perhaps he wanted to vent the hatred in his heart. As a result, the demon spirit was captured by this woman and imprisoned. In the following years, the demon spirit lived a life worse than death. The demon spirit was also very depressed. He thought to himself, "I was just born, I haven't even stirred up any trouble or harmed the world, yet I was captured and tortured to the point of wishing I was dead." The other demon spirits all became unpardonable devils, and everyone's expression changed when they talked about it. As for me, it was really too tragic. However, these were some things that he had experienced and were difficult to change. Of course, there was a reason why the demon spirit hated this woman so much. This woman actually abhorred evil as if it were her enemy. If it was any other demon spirit, she would have already killed it. However, the demon spirit formed by Yushang's demonic will had not been killed for a long time. Perhaps it was because he wanted to see the demon spirit and think of her? Later on, there was a time. She once went to find Yixian and asked him why he wanted to do that. She couldn't understand what Yixian and Yushang had done. At that time, Yixian was very silent. This was because his good brother, Yushang, had no choice but to undergo a tribulation because of this matter. Moreover, some people in his family had also fallen because of this matter. The two of them were silent for a long time before Yixian said, "It is said that in the beginning, there were no 4 universes. This world was one world, one universe. But later, it was divided into 4 universes because some unimaginably powerful people forcibly divided the originally complete world into 4 universes. And these people control everything in the 4 universes, including reincarnation, rebirth, or the fate of others. They are above all living beings, such as the 9 provinces universe, the supreme existence of this universe. What they like to do the most is to destroy countless worlds, destroy countless living beings, destroy a long era, and then let a new era be born. Then, our Kunlun universe has also experienced the destruction of the universe several times. After the destruction of the universe, a new universe will appear. Other than the destruction of the universe, there is another extremely terrifying thing. Many of the powerful forces in our Kunlun universe have been captured, and after they were captured by those supreme existences, their fates were extremely tragic. Because their bodies were dissected while they were still alive. Those terrifying existences used parts of the bodies of different races to create some extremely strange creatures," said Li Chia. "What a cruel thing to do! Do you think the existences behind the scenes are still human? When you were weak, you wanted to become strong, so you could protect your loved ones, family members, friends, and so on. But when you became strong, you realized that the world was so dark. When faced with many things, we feel helpless and helpless. All we can do is try our best to resist these things. Even if we don't do it for the people we don't know, we still have to do it for ourselves, for our loved ones, our family, our friends, and so on. Don't you think so? Yushang and I have known each other since we were young. Maybe you don't know about some of the things that happened when we were young, but when I was young, I first came in contact with some of the Celestial Master's inheritances, which came from Yushang. That was the predecessor of the Celestial Master's path, and it was called the Genesis Master's path. Yushang gave me the Genesis Master's book, and then I came in contact with a new world. Later on, Yushang created the Celestial Master's path on that foundation. The core content is terrifying, so the existences behind the scenes are extremely afraid. Yu Shang is now going through the culpa, but there are some things that need to continue. I will do them. Isn't this very dangerous? Asked the woman. But someone has to do it. I hope that my loved ones, family members, and friends can live happily. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. So I hope that you can understand Yu Shang, said Yi Xian. That was the last time she saw Yi Xian. After that, she lived in seclusion in the 9 continents universe. After a long period of time, she woke up again, but everything had changed. It seemed that this epoch was about to be destroyed again. This epoch was the saddest epoch, and the most despairing one. Because this era was the 3000th era, the 3000th era. According to Yi Xian, the 3000th era of the 9 provinces universe was equivalent to a great cycle of reincarnation according to the time of the 4 great universes. The 4 great universes would undergo reincarnation at the same time. In other words, the 4 great universes would be destroyed at the same time, and all living beings would die. A new universe would be born. The funny thing was that many of the survivors of this epoch didn't know. They didn't even know about this. They thought that they would be able to survive the next epoch. But this time, it was basically impossible. When the 4 universes were destroyed at the same time, only the supreme existences, such as the existence of the Mastermind's world, would be able to survive. The rest of the living things would die. The woman thought too much, and her expression kept changing. She looked at Lin Feng, sighed, and said, I won't make things difficult for you. You can leave. Lin Feng coughed dryly and said, I want a star map to the buried god's starfield. P.S. Yi Xian is the main character of the new book, Devour the Heavens. The immeasurable Taoist's previous life was Yu Shang. The new book has 400,000 words. Everyone, go and collect it. This is the first update. There are 4 more updates tonight. Please subscribe. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.